If you ever have to call 911, do not hang up no matter what. Because I called them for the first time today when I was going for a hike in the mountains and I started to smell smoke. So I looked around and saw a fire starting, but it wasn't that big yet. So I was like, I better call 911 so they can stop it before it gets worse. And without thinking twice, I dialed the number. But for some reason, the moment I pressed the call button, I got super nervous because I've never called 911 before. And I felt like I was gonna get in trouble. So before they answered, I hung up. And instead, I just told one of the people that worked at the mountain that a fire was starting. But then I started to freak out because I thought about how the police probably saw that I called them right while I was next to the fire. So they were gonna think I did it. So then I was like, should I call them back and apologize or what? But I don't think you can just call 911 back. Am I supposed to leave a voicemail or something? I don't know. Never DM your celebrity crush. Because my friend and I were talking about our celebrity crushes the other day and he dared me to DM mine. So I did it right away without thinking twice about it because I thought there was no chance she would see it. And I completely forgot I even sent this DM until the next morning when I'm on my phone and I see that she viewed the message I sent to her. And you might be like, well, Tyler, isn't this supposed to be a good thing? No, because since I thought there was no chance she would ever see the message, I let my friend decide what to say. And this is where I went wrong because he asked for feet pics from my account. So since she saw that message and left me on red, I was like, oh, I better DM her back and tell her that it was just a joke. But I couldn't because she blocked me. My celebrity crush blocked me because she thought I was a weird fan who likes toes. If you're seeing this, I don't, I promise. How are you still single? How have you never had a girlfriend before? I was just at the store and a girl told me I smelled nice, but you know what my response was? I said, are you sure? I haven't even showered today. I don't know what to do anymore. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is when you're hanging out with two people and your mutual friend leaves. Like for some reason, I just completely forget how to talk when this happens. Because I was at the carnival with my friend one time, but his other friend, who I didn't really know, also came. And it was going fine until we got to the Ferris wheel. Because we were all gonna go on it together. But when we got to the front of the line, the worker told us there was only 2 people allowed per cart. So my friend was like, oh, well, I invited both of you guys, so I don't wanna make either of you go by yourself. How about you go together and I go alone? And I didn't wanna be rude, so I was like, yeah, that's fine. So we went on the Ferris wheel, just us two, but it was horrible because we were literally facing each other, not saying anything. So I tried to break the silence and I was like, what's your favorite color? But then he just goes, green. I just gave up after that. And we just sat in awkward silence for the next 5 minutes. If your teacher ever calls on you during class, even though you didn't raise your hand, I have a way to make sure they'll never do that again. Because my teachers used to do this to me all the time because they noticed I wasn't paying attention. So I guess they wanted to embarrass me or something. And before, I used to freak out when this happened because I wouldn't know the answer. So I'd start panicking trying to figure out what to say until one day I got called on and I still didn't know the solution. But this time I decided I was just gonna say a random answer super confidently. So that's what I did. The teacher was like, Tyler, what's the answer to question 4? And I just said, 36. And she goes, no, it's -2. But because I sounded so confident when answering, it made it seem like I was paying attention, but I'm just dumb. And it worked because from this point on, she didn't call on me the rest of the year unless I was raising my hand. She also recommended that I get held back because of this, but that's besides the point. This is a warning to never put your phone on Do Not Disturb mode because my friend got arrested for trespassing. But you may be asking, what does that have to do with my phone being on Do Not Disturb? Well, you see, my friend lives by himself and the rest of his family lives a couple states away. So if he ever has a problem, he either reaches out to me or one of our other friends. So he got arrested and I had no idea this happened until I looked at my phone and I saw that I had a voicemail from 9 hours ago. But I didn't recognize who the voicemail was from. So I clicked on it and I listened to it. And it turns out I was his one phone call from jail. Why would you call me? Who do I look like, Saul Goodman? But anyways, I called the jail back and apparently he got released by the time I saw my voicemail. So I called his actual number to see how he was doing and he said that he was fine and that he walked home from the jail when he got out. So in my head, I'm like, oh, the jail must be pretty close to where he lives then, right? So I Googled the location of the jail and he lives 7 miles away from it. So I called him back and I said, dude, did you just walk 7 miles home? And he says, oh, is that how far I walked? So this is your friendly reminder to never put your phone on Do Not Disturb because your friend, that's now a felon, might get stranded if you do. This is your reminder that your parents aren't racist, they just don't have a good memory. How does that correlate, you may ask? Well, you see, I have a friend who's Asian, and my parents love this kid. They always say how nice he is, but my parents' problem is, they can never remember names. So whenever I say I'm going to hang out with my friends, they ask which ones, and I say, Jaden, and they say, is that the Asian one? Yes, Mom, he does happen to be Asian. But here's the other issue. I have a couple friends who happen to be Asian, so asking if he's Asian isn't enough to know who it is. So after they ask that question, they say, oh, is it the one on the heavier side? Wow, I mean, he has red hair, so you could have asked if it was the one with red hair, but yeah, I guess he's the one on the heavier side. But they love this kid. They don't mean to say it with any harm. They just can't memorize names. Even mine. One time, my mom said, get in here, Ryland. I've never met a Ryland in my life. So is anyone else's parents like this, or is it just mine? A girl came up to me today and asked for my number for the first time in my life. And I know what you're gonna say. was she attractive? Well, she was like 65 years old. And I'm pretty sure she was homeless because she didn't have shoes and she was barking at people. But a win is a win, right? A win is a win. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is when you're watching a movie with your parents and a love scene comes on. Because for some reason, whenever I'm watching something with them, there always has to be an inappropriate scene. It could be Finding Nemo and there would still be something freaky happening in it. I remember one time, me and my parents went to go watch the new Oppenheimer movie. And I'm super excited, like, yeah, I can't wait to watch this movie about science and nothing else. But then about 20 minutes into the movie, the characters are getting their freak on. I thought this movie was about atomic bombs. But whenever this happens, you have to pretend like you're not even watching the movie. Like I started looking at the ceiling, checking the weather in Cupertino. You can't look at the screen or else your parents are gonna wonder why you're watching that freaky stuff. Does anyone else have a friend who's been consumed by brain rot? Like they can't even have a normal conversation anymore. Because I'm starting to get worried about my friend going through this because we were just on a flight together and this lady was trying to get to her seat, but she tripped over her suitcase and fell. So a couple people were trying to help her up, but while this was happening, my friend goes, I give that 3 big booms. So I go, what? And he says, I give that lady's fall 3 big booms. First of all, you can't scream boom on an airplane. We're about to get kicked off here so fast. But second of all, are you okay? Since when did we start rating everything on a boom meter? Come on, bro, I know you're still inside there somewhere, okay? You gotta fight. The sad part is, I always thought my friend was super smart. He probably could have been a doctor or something, but instead, he just recites brain rot memes. We're all so cooked. I just made a little kid cry on purpose because I was at a restaurant with my family and there was this boy at the table in front of me that just kept staring at me. And I didn't have a problem with it at first because I was like, okay, he's just a kid, that's what they do. But then our food came and he was still staring. So I started to get a little bit uncomfortable because I don't like when people watch me eat. So I was trying to think of a way to get him to stop while I was eating and I decided I was gonna look at him like this. So that's what I did, and I was hoping the kid would laugh or something and then stop, but instead, he started crying right away. He was crying loud, but I didn't want to look responsible for making this happen. So when his mom asked him what was wrong and he pointed to me, I just pretended like I had no idea what he was talking about. He pointed to me and I just did this. I felt really bad because I was low-key gaslighting a 4-year-old, but I'm sorry, little bro, I just got uncomfortable. There's a trend going around where people ask if you were to pass away, who would be the 6 people to carry your casket at your funeral? And this trend terrifies me because I got like 2 friends. How do y'all have so many friends? I see a bunch of people going out every weekend with different people. Where did you find them? Is there a secret on how to have new friends that I'm just not aware of? Because I got 2. They're about to be dragging my casket like this. If you're ever thinking about buying a TV off Temu, don't do it! Because I just bought this one and I was super excited because it was only 30 bucks until it arrived and I realized it wasn't an actual TV. It's a Wendy's menu screen! I was trying to watch the Lakers game on it, but instead, I'm stuck staring at the breakfast Baconator. Okay, that actually sounds kind of good. But still! If your teacher ever tries to take away your phone during class, don't let them. Because one time, I had a class with a super strict teacher who never let anyone use their phone. Like if she even saw it slightly slipping out of your pocket, she took it away. So I never dared to go on it during class, except for this one day where the group chat I had with my friends kept going off because everyone was arguing. And I was getting roasted in it, so obviously I had to defend myself and I was texting during class. And I thought I was being slick until my teacher saw me and took my phone away, which wouldn't have been that big of a deal if it weren't for the fact that it was still unlocked when she grabbed it. And like I said, she hated when people tried using their phone, so she said to me, what's so important that you need to use your phone during class? And she read the messages we were sending in the group chat. And let's just say, those messages may or may not have had some Diddy jokes that she definitely did not understand. This is your warning to never do what the guy I just saw at Target did, especially on Valentine's Day. He was in an argument with his girlfriend, so I went to the aisle right next to them so I could hear what they were arguing about because they were not being quiet. So when I started listening, I could hear the girl saying, you always do stuff like this. You're so cheap. So I was like, what's he being cheap about? So I keep listening and they're just going back and forth, but they haven't revealed what exactly made her angry. But then I hear him say, it's the thought of the card that counts. And she says, the card is $5. You don't think I'm worth $5? So after a little bit more arguing, I figured out that what happened was this man went to Target on Valentine's Day with his girlfriend, went to the card section, picked out a card for her, let her read it, and then he put it back. The worst part is this guy was wearing like nice Jordans, so he can't be that broke. I kind of get it though, because once you read a card, what do you do with it? You throw it away anyway, right? But you just can't do that to your girlfriend on Valentine's Day. I can't wait for when Christmas time comes around and he takes her to like the Chanel store or something and he lets her try on a bunch of different purses. And when she finds the one she loves, she says, ooh, can I please get this purse? And he says, wasn't wearing it in the store enough? I feel like that might actually happen. So if you have a girlfriend, don't do what he did or you won't have a girlfriend anymore. If you go to the bathroom past midnight, always turn the light on. Because around 2 a.m. last night, I woke up and really had to pee. So I got up, but I was pretty much still half asleep. My eyes felt super heavy and I didn't really have any of my senses yet. So I'm walking in the dark and I open the bathroom door, but right when I do that, I see a shadowy figure on the toilet. So I scream because I'm thinking, why is there a ghost taking a dump in my bathroom right now? But I didn't know if I was just imagining it because I was super tired. So I turned the light on and what do I see? My mom just sitting there. She was sitting in complete silence at 2 a.m. with the lights off. So I asked her, Mom, what are you doing? And she says, I'm just going to the bathroom. But then I say, yeah, but why are you just sitting here with the lights off, not saying anything? And she was like, I don't know, that's just what I always do. Next time I gotta go to the bathroom at this time, I'm just gonna wet the bed. I just got tricked by a homeless man because I was driving through a parking lot and there was a guy with a sign saying, homeless, anything helps. So I rolled down my window and offered to buy him food from Subway because we were right next to one. But he was like, no, I'm not really hungry right now. I would just prefer if you could give me some cash. So the anything helps part of his sign was definitely a lie, but I had some cash with me, so I was like, whatever, I'll just give him some money. But a couple days later, I'm driving through that same parking lot again, and guess who I see? The homeless man. But something was different about him this time, because on this day, he was wearing brand new Jordans. He spent the money I gave him on Jordans. And you may be like, oh, why are you mad? Homeless people need comfy shoes too. And you're right. But I'm mad because the ones he bought are off-white Jordans that are literally worth more than I could afford. But somehow this homeless man could buy them? He should have been helping me out. Am I low-key just jealous of him? Yeah. Even homeless people have more drip than me. Nobody talks about the difference between how moms text versus dads. Because I have a group chat with my parents, and a couple months ago when school ended, I sent them a picture of my grades and they were pretty good. So immediately I got a text back from my mom that was about 9,000 words. It looked like she was trying to fill up the word requirement on an essay. Cause she was like, great job, Tyler. I'm so proud of the young man you're becoming and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. So I'm thinking, dang mom, I appreciate it, but I didn't just win the Nobel Prize. All I did was pass algebra. And that was mostly cause of Quizlet. But when it comes to my dad, he didn't respond to this text for a couple hours until finally I see a text from him pop up. And you know what it said? Nothing. He just sent a thumbs up emoji. I could tell my dad I cured cancer and he would respond by sending a thumbs up emoji. He'll use that thing no matter what the scenario is. If you're ever trying to think of an excuse to go home early from school, don't say you're sick. Because I was at school one time, but I really didn't want to be there since a new video game I wanted to play just came out. So I made a plan to pretend to be sick, hoping the teacher would let me go home. So I raised my hand and the teacher walked over to me and I told her that I felt nauseous and like I might throw up. But then she looked at me right in my eyes and her smile faded away as she said, oh yeah, you don't look very good right now. I'll call your mom. And then she immediately went to the phone and I got sent home. Which, yeah, that was what I wanted. But at the same time, what do you mean I don't look good? I wasn't actually sick. That's literally how I always look. I know I have bags under my eyes, but it's genetic, okay? I can't control it. Now I see why people always told me I look like Goob from Meet the Robinsons growing up. Nobody talks about the difference between how boys act on their birthday versus girls. Because whenever it's a girl's birthday, you can tell right away. They're dressed like it's prom night. They've got enough balloons with them to float to Mars. But for guys, it's completely different because I remember one time I was talking to this dude I sat next to in class and we were friendly, but we weren't like friends. So I didn't know when his birthday was, but then the teacher gave us a worksheet to do and we had to put the date on it and the guy asked me what today's date was. But when I told him, he paused for a second, then went, really? So I said, yeah. And he was like, oh, it's my birthday today. And I had to stop what I was doing and be like, wait. There's no way you didn't know it was your birthday until right now. But apparently, not one person said happy birthday to him that day and he didn't know the date, so he just completely forgot. I feel him though. I get about 3 texts on my birthday and they're all from people that have the same last name as me. It's so sad. I went to a barber that doesn't speak any English, and this was a big mistake because when he asked me what haircut I wanted, I told him I just wanted it a little bit shorter all the way around, and he must have not understood a damn word I said because this is what he gave me. What the? He turned me into Coconut Head! I'm never having kids because I just saw a video where this father showed off some pictures his daughter drew for him. And at first, it was cute because the daughter was like, Daddy, look, I drew our family. And the drawings would have her, the father, and their dog in it. Seems really sweet, right? Well, it was until the father showed the last drawing she made. Because in that one, it wasn't just them and the dog in it. There was one extra person. But I don't even know if you could call it a person because it looked like a demon. When I first saw it, I thought she was trying to draw the thing from the Momo challenge. So the dad asks the daughter who that extra person is, and she goes, that's my friend. Well, that's terrifying, but then it gets even worse because the dad says, oh, well, why does she look like that? And the little girl goes, don't say that, Dad. She gets mad when you talk about her like that. What? I'm sorry, but if this happened to me, my daughter and her little friend over there can go hang out at the orphanage because I ain't messing with whatever that is. If you're ever ordering food and they ask for your name, do not give them a fake one. Because me and my friend were hungry the other day, so he ordered Chick-fil-A on his phone, and he said he would pay for it if I picked it up. So I agreed, but what he didn't tell me until I got there was that he put the food under the name Jamal. Now I was super nervous because obviously, I do not look like someone with that name. But I arrive and it was a Friday night, so it was super busy inside. And once the order was ready, the worker goes, "Order for Jamal." But I was gonna wait until they called out the name for the next order so people wouldn't be looking at me. But instead of just putting my food down and calling out the next name, the worker whips out a microphone and says, "Jamal, your order is ready. Please come to the front counter." So now everyone is paying attention and they're like, "Ooh, I wonder where Jamal's at." So at this point, I've accepted that I just cannot go up there and get the food. So I went back in line and ordered again. But this time, I didn't get my friend any food. That's what he gets. What would you do if you ruined someone's gender reveal? Because that's what I did. So I was at a party for a gender reveal, but I made the dumb mistake of not asking anyone how the couple was gonna reveal the gender of the baby. Like if they were gonna cut into a piece of cake or hit a piñata or something like that. So I'm walking around the house and I see this room with a bunch of pink and blue balloons in it. And there's a bunch of kids running around popping them. So I'm like, well, I may not be a kid anymore, but I'm still full of jolly and glee, so I wanna pop these balloons too. So I go in there and start popping them. But there was this one really big white balloon at the top of the ceiling that the kids couldn't reach. So when I came in, they asked me if I could pop that one. And because I want to have that cool uncle vibe, I immediately do it. But unfortunately, no one told me that was the balloon they were popping to reveal the gender. So a bunch of blue powder just falls all over the place. Luckily, the parents of the baby didn't see it happen. Only like 2 adults saw this happen, so everyone else still didn't know the gender. So me and the other people who saw it happen just got another white balloon and filled that one up with powder. This is what I get for trying to be the cool uncle. Have you ever had a friend who refuses to let you inside their house? Like they definitely gotta be hiding something in there, because I have a friend that I've known since I was 5 years old. Yet he has never let me inside his house, and he'll do whatever it takes to make sure I don't. Like there was a time where we were playing basketball together and he sprained his ankle really bad to the point where he couldn't walk. So I drove him home, but when we got to his house, I was like, "Here, let me help you get inside." But he goes, "No, I got it." So I was like, "What are you even talking about? You can't walk on that foot." But he opened my car door and just hopped all the way to his house. He was literally screaming like, "Ow, ow, ow, ow." So I've asked him before why he refuses to let me inside his house, but every time I bring it up, he just tries to change the subject or act like he doesn't know what I'm talking about. At this point, I don't think I want to see what's inside there. You know how every school had a kid who would bring a speaker and play music in the hallways? Well, I do not recommend being that kid, because the one who did it at my school got in big trouble one day. Because everyone was really annoyed that he would always do this, but one kid in particular named Chris was super fed up. So he made an evil plan to make sure the speaker kid, whose name was John, would stop doing this. Because during lunch, John would put the speaker inside his locker, but since it was high school, no one actually locked their locker. So during lunch one day, Chris went up to John's locker and he connected his phone to the speaker so that from now on, whenever it turned on, it would immediately connect to his device. So fast forward a few days later and he's in class with John taking a test. But Chris connects his phone to the speaker during the exam and starts playing music. So while the classroom is completely silent, the speaker starts blaring music. So the teacher took the speaker away and said, "From now on, I don't want to see that speaker with you inside school." And the whole class cheered. No, they didn't do that part, but they definitely wanted to. If someone is talking in a different language around you, they are talking trash. Because I was at the nail salon getting a pedicure once. And yes, I get pedicures, okay? They feel nice. But I've always felt like the ladies who worked there were talking trash about me in another language. And I knew the ones at this nail salon spoke Vietnamese, so I had a plan to figure out what they were saying. Now, obviously, I don't look like a person who speaks Vietnamese. But in reality, you're right, I don't. But Google Translate does. So when I was at the nail salon, I pulled my phone out and turned my microphone on. So whatever the ladies were saying would get translated from Vietnamese into English. So when the time came where it looked like they were talking trash, I used it. And I expected to see the translation say something like, "This boy's feet smell like chemical waste." But no, instead, she was just talking trash about her husband, saying how he's lazy and he needs to help the kids out more. I'm just glad the trash talk wasn't about me. Girls will never be able to understand male friendships, because my homie got a girlfriend recently, but before they started dating, she didn't know who I was. So we all started hanging out together, and after a while, she thought my friend and I secretly hated each other. She literally went up to her boyfriend and said, "Hey, be honest, do you and Tyler actually like each other?" And he goes, "Yeah, of course. Why would you think we didn't?" And you know what her reason for thinking this was? She thought we hated each other because of how much we would insult the other person right to their face. Like one time he picked me up for us to all hang out and I said his shirt was ugly. So instead of letting me in the car, he locked the door and threatened to run me over. What his girlfriend didn't understand is that when it comes to male friendships, insults are a guy's love language. The meaner a guy is to his friends, the more he likes them. I don't make the rules, but that's how it is. When people say massage parlors are scary, they are not kidding. I just went there for the first time and this tiny Asian lady was there working, and I had no expectations going into this, but now I know to never go back. First of all, she forced me to take all of my clothes off. Like all of them. At first I took off everything except my underwear. Then she aggressively told me to take those off too. She literally said, "Take off underwear!" So I don't know if that part is normal or if I'm like a victim now or something. But anyways, the lady that worked there was like the smallest person ever. Like I think if a chihuahua saw her in public, it would eat her. But I think she was possessed, because there is no other explanation for how she was so strong. When she massaged my back, I thought she turned into the Hulk. It felt like she was doing a WWE takedown like this. Oh, my back! I think I broke my back! I started screaming because it hurt so bad. And then because I screamed, she slapped me and said, "No screaming!" It's a good thing the place was so dark, because if she saw how much I was crying, I think she would have chopped one of my toes off or something. Nobody talks about how scary it is when your mean friend starts being nice to you. Because my friend and I were staying at a hotel together one night, and he was acting completely normal until randomly he says, "Dang it." So I asked him what's wrong, and he told me he just ran out of data on his phone. So he tries connecting to the hotel Wi-Fi, but it doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, he starts acting suspiciously nice. Like, he asked if I wanted him to get me a drink from the lobby. So I was like, "Bro, why are you acting like this?" And he goes, "Acting like what? I'm just trying to be a good friend." But after about 5 minutes of this really strange behavior, he asks if he could use my hotspot. So I was like, "Oh, now I get why you were being nice." But I tell him no because it'll ruin my battery, and I forgot to bring a charger. Plus it was super late by this time, so I was like, let's just go to bed. So I thought this would be the end of the conversation until I went to sleep. Because around 2 a.m., a bright light wakes me up. So I open my eyes to see my friend trying to unlock my phone by using the Face ID on me. First of all, my eyes have to be open for that to work. Second of all, why are you that down bad for a hotspot? Did anyone else purposely pick the kid who couldn't read during popcorn reading at school? Like, I know this sounds evil, but I would always do it to mess with my friend. Because I remember the teacher would always ask who wants to read first, and I would raise my hand because I liked reading. But the moment I finished my page and it was time for me to pick a different person to read, everyone knew exactly who was gonna be up next because I picked the same person every time. The funny part is, my friend always knew I was gonna choose him because while I was reading, he would ask to go to the bathroom or try to come up with an excuse to leave class. But the teacher would always be like, "No, class just started. You don't need to go to the bathroom." So I'd pick him, and he would just be reading in like 0.5 speed. I also did this because since he was slow to read, it took up more class time. Looking back at it though, I was an evil kid. I'm sorry for making you do that, Jimmy. Oh, you think your parents are strict? Well, one time, me and my friends really wanted to go snowboarding, but we knew our friend Aaron wouldn't be allowed to go because his parents would just say no. So he decided to lie and tell his parents he was sleeping over at my house. And he left his phone in my room while we went snowboarding, so when his mom checked his location, it looked like he was just hanging out with me, and we thought he got away with it until we got back. Because Aaron got his phone from my house, and he had a bunch of missed calls from his mom. Apparently, she found out we went snowboarding, but how did she know this, you ask? She put an AirTag in his shoe a while ago without him knowing, just in case he ever turned his location off. And you may think he just got grounded or something and that's the end of it, but no. Because the next time we hung out, he had something wrapped around his leg, so we asked what it was, and it was an ankle monitor. His mom forced him to wear it when hanging out with us now because she didn't trust him. I can't believe he got put on parole by his own mother. If your teacher tells you to get into groups for a project, don't join your friends. Because I used to think doing a group project with my homies would be so fun. Until we had a day where our teacher let us choose who we wanted to work with. So of course, I chose my 3 best friends in that class. And at first, it was awesome. I looked forward to going to that class every day because I just got to hang out with my friends the whole time. But after a couple of weeks, I showed up to that class one day and the teacher told us our project was due tomorrow. But you know how much work we got done up to that point? None. This whole time we were supposed to be working on the project in class, we just spent yapping about the most useless topics like, would you rather eat chocolate flavored poop or poop flavored chocolate? Like, what are we even talking about? So we had to rush to get the project done in one night. And then when we presented, no one could keep a straight face. I'm working with the smart kids next time. Have you ever started saying a certain word as a joke, but now it's become part of your normal vocabulary? Like, no matter how hard you try to stop saying it, you can't. Because I was at a restaurant the other day and the food arrived looking delicious. So I take a bite and this is how I react. Bombaclat. Now let me ask you a question. Do I look like someone who says that word? No. The only reason I started saying it in the first place was because I loved watching those soccer videos where the player would do something embarrassing and the crowd would react by going, Bombaclat. But it became so satisfying to say that I started saying it way more than I should have. And I don't even pronounce it correctly, so when I said it at the restaurant, I could see a person at the table next to me who heard it and they were laughing. I say Bombaclat like how a Karen says quesadilla. It just don't sound right. I went to school with a girl who cheated on literally every test, but she posted a picture the other day saying that she just officially became a nurse. So immediately when I saw that, I commented on it saying, "Oh my gosh, congratulations. Just out of curiosity, what hospital are you working at?" Then she told me the hospital. But the reason I asked this question at all is because we had a lot of classes together in high school. And I have never seen anyone cheat as much as she did. So I asked what hospital she was at so I can make sure to avoid it. You think if I break a bone, I'm going to a hospital that has a nurse who was in a committed relationship with Quizlet? No shot! If she cheated to get through high school, just imagine what she did to get through nursing school. That's way harder than learning the Pythagorean theorem. I ain't putting my life in her hands. So if you're ever at a hospital in Southern California, Beware of Nurse Ellie, because she's probably gonna be asking Siri how to fix you. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is when everyone's texting in a group chat, but then you send a message and no one replies. Like, why am I even in here? Because y'all clearly hate me. I remember I got added to a group chat once that was literally for a party someone at my school was throwing. And there was like 75 people in it, so texts were coming through every second. And I was just kind of observing the group chat, not saying anything. But then I saw these two people in it arguing, and one of them said, "Why are you even talking, Barry? You barely made it in." But because I have possibly the worst comedic timing ever, when I saw that text, I saw a golden opportunity. So I replied to that message saying, "That's what she said." And I was expecting at least some people to find that funny, but no, it was just crickets. There was not one more text in that group chat for the next 30 minutes. The joke was somehow so bad that it even got them to stop arguing. The only way I knew how to get over this embarrassment was to just leave the group chat. This is why I don't talk in them. A girl at my school asked me out, and I panicked because I did not want to say yes, but I also didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I said, "Yeah, I'll go out with you, but you should know that the last girlfriend I had was a little bit crazy, and after we broke up, she saw me talking to another girl, and she bit a part of her ear off. Poor girl can't even hear out of the right side anymore." I was lying. This did not happen. My ex-girlfriend was not Mike Tyson, but it was enough to scare her off, so that every time after that, when she saw me in the hallways at school, she would turn around and speed walk the exact opposite way. So if you need an excuse to tell someone no when they ask you out, just use that. It will work. Does anyone else have a friend who never wants to leave when you're hanging out? Because I had a friend who got their license before me, and he was like this. So whenever we were hanging out, it would get to the point where it was like 1 a.m. and we already went to 4 different places that day. So I'd be super tired and want to go home. But unfortunately, my friend would pretty much keep me captive and force me to hang out longer. Because he'd be like, "All right, what do you guys want to do now?" And me and our other friends would be like, "Bro, we just want to go home. My mom's about to send out an Amber Alert for me if I don't get back soon." He'd respond with something ridiculous like, "Aw, come on guys, it's not that late. How about we go fishing?" Dog, it is 1 a.m. One of our friends has been passed out in the back for the past 2 hours, and we don't even own fishing rods. What are you even talking about? But since he was driving, he had the final say. So if he wanted to go fishing, we were going fishing. I was about to just sleep with the fish. If you have an embarrassing group chat name, never let your parents hold your phone. Because I was just trying to show my mom my grades from the previous school year. So I pulled them up on my phone. But for some reason, whenever you show your parents something on your phone, they want to hold it. So she had it in her hand now, and all of a sudden, I hear a notification sound go off. But not just a normal one. It was a very distinct one I have set for a specific group chat. So I looked at her when it went off, but she didn't have a reaction. So I was like, okay, maybe she didn't read it. But then the notification sound went off again and again. And after a couple times of that happening, she gave me an awkward side eye. I just know that she was super uncomfortable when she saw that I was getting texts from Stephen Hawking's pit crew. I didn't know whether to explain that I wasn't the one who named it or just say nothing at all. I'm definitely muting that group chat. Have you ever had a new kid at your school that gets popular super quick? Because a couple years ago, our teacher said there was a new kid transferring and no one really cared at first until he showed up because he was super shy on the first day he got there, which made sense since he didn't know anyone. I remember seeing him eat lunch alone and not really talking to anyone at all. But the next day, I stayed home from school because I was sick and I went back the day after. But by that time, this man already became the most famous person in school. All of a sudden, there's people sitting around him at lunch. And I heard people asking him if he wanted to hang out after school. Everyone looked like minions following him around as if he was Gru. So I jokingly said to my friend, "Dang, this man got more popular in 2 days than I did in 8 years. Maybe I should transfer so this happens to me, right?" But he was like, "Nah, don't do that. It wouldn't work. They actually just like him." Nobody talks about the difference between dress codes for girls versus guys at school. Because you would have thought everyone in my class was super down bad with how much the students got dress coded. Like the girls would get so angry because anything they tried to wear got them sent straight to the principal's office. There was one time where a girl wore a long sleeve shirt that completely covered her whole body, but it was a little baggy around the neck. So when she adjusted it, you could see her shoulder. And the moment the teacher saw that shoulder peeking out, he sent her straight to the office and she came back with a XXL gym shirt on. But what even is the thought process there? Are there really people at school gooning over a girl's shoulder? I mean, I thought toe fetishes were weird, but y'all are taking it to the next level. Meanwhile, dress codes for guys at my school was basically non-existent. I remember during Halloween, one kid literally did not wear a shirt to school and the teacher didn't care. Honestly, my theory is that the dress code is for the teachers, not the students. To the person I just met in the elevator that said they watched my videos, I'm so sorry about what happened. Because I was staying at a hotel and I got in the elevator to go back to my room, but I had Mexican food like an hour before this. So there was an absolute hurricane going off in my stomach and I farted in the elevator. And initially, I was the only one in it, but the hotel I'm staying at is 10 stories and I was on the 8th floor. So I'm just hoping that the elevator doesn't stop before getting to my floor, but then at floor 6, I hear a ding go off and the elevator stops. So I'm like, oh no, they're gonna smell my fart. And a guy walks in and gives me a weird look. So I'm like, yep, he definitely smells it, but no, it was even worse because he goes, "Are you a YouTuber?" And I tell him I am, and he says, "No way, I've seen your videos before." Dog, that was the worst thing you could have said right now. Because after he got in the elevator, he started coughing, so he definitely smelled it. But when he did that, I started coughing too to make it seem like I wasn't the one who farted. And when the elevator got to my floor, I ran out of there as quick as possible. You just can't trust those bean burritos, man. Did anyone else ever have a classmate who would only show up to school like once a month? And whenever they showed up, it felt like a special occasion because they were normally never there. I have no idea how these types of people pass their classes though, because there was one kid I sat next to who literally did not show up for 25 days straight. So the day he came back, I was like, bro, where were you? Did you go hike Mount Everest or something? And he says, nah, I just went to see the 7 wonders of the world with my family. Huh? Why'd you just say that like it's normal? Like that's the tone I use when I have to tell someone I clogged the toilet. But I did not like sitting next to him because when he finally got back, we had a group project to do. But 3 days later, he was gone again and he didn't return for 2 weeks. So I had to do the whole project on my own. He just got done seeing the 7 wonders of the world. Where was he going this time? Mars? You know, actually, don't even answer that because he probably was. Nobody talks about how scary it is when you're at the grocery store with your mom and she leaves you at the checkout line. Like this used to be my worst nightmare because one time me and my mom were in the checkout line at Walmart and she's looking at her list, making sure she got everything she needs. And she realized she forgot to get laundry detergent, but the lines were super long and she didn't want to have to wait through it again since we were almost at the front. So she told me to stay in it while she went to get the detergent. But I was freaking out because after a couple minutes, it was our turn to check out and my mom wasn't back yet. And I think the worker knew this and was trying to mess with me because he started scanning items like 5 times faster when it was my turn. He finished scanning the items and my mom wasn't back yet. So he asked how I was gonna pay and I almost started crying. But then finally, my mom got back. Do the workers always do this when they see a little kid? Old people have to stop getting tricked by AI so easily. Because my mom was scrolling through Facebook the other day and she starts laughing hysterically. So I'm like, what's so funny, mom? Then she tells me that she saw a video of an English bulldog cooking a steak. So I'm like, no way, let me see the video. And she shows it to me, but it's the most obvious AI I've ever seen. Like the dog was literally holding a knife and cutting the steak as if it was a human. So I was like, Mom, that video is not real. But then she was like, how do you know? So I tell her that it's super obvious that the video is AI, but then she says, it looks so real though. Mom, the knife was literally going through the dog's paw. It was not real. So I had to break her heart and tell her that this dog wasn't the next Gordon Ramsay. But this wasn't even nearly as bad as the time where she saw a photo of what Nicolas Cage would look like if he was a dog and she thought that was real. Now that one was terrifying. I just know that in like 6 months, there's gonna be AI videos of pigs flying and old people are gonna be like, they finally did it. Oh my gosh. Have you ever been taking a test and the kid next to you covers their answers as if you were trying to cheat off them? Like even if it's obvious you're not cheating. Cause I got so frustrated one time when I was in math class and we were taking a really important exam. But every time I would move my head at all, the kid next to me would quickly cover his paper. So the teacher saw this and started to think that I was cheating. So while making direct eye contact with me, she said out loud to the whole class, everybody remember to keep your eyes on your own test. If you are caught cheating, you will get a 0. But this made me so angry because I sat next to this kid the whole year and I definitely did not need to cheat off of him. Like he made Forrest Gump look like a Nobel Prize winner. And when we got our results back from the test, I had to fight so hard to not laugh at him. The only person he should be hiding his test from after getting that bad of a score is his parents. You know how when a group of pretty girls walk by, you check the weather app to pretend like you're on your phone? Well, I have a friend that used to be super socially awkward and did not know how to talk to women. And no, I'm not talking about myself, okay? Even though that does describe me. But anyways, my friend used to check the weather app so much when he was in this situation. And I just saw him for the first time in a couple years recently. So I asked him what he's been up to and he told me he's trying to become a weatherman. So I was like, oh, I never knew you wanted to do that. And he goes, neither did I. But after checking the weather app so much around girls, I started to realize that it was super interesting to me. This man literally figured out what he wants to do in life from this happening so much. I guess there are some perks to being scared of women. I'm just coping. Get ready with me to go to a funeral. So my grandma passed away last week, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm really sad. But she left us her house in her will. And I'm sure some of you will probably say, okay, cool, she gave you her house, but you should still be more sad than you are right now. And to that I say, shut up. My grandma would want me to be happy. Matter of fact, she always told me that I was her favorite grandson. Mostly because she had dementia and she forgot all her other grandkids. But still, another reason I'm so happy is I heard there's gonna be a chocolate fountain at the funeral. What? Are they gonna put a bounce house there too? Like you're telling me if you were at a funeral and they had a chocolate fountain and a bounce house, you would not be happy. Anyways, this is the final look. Nobody talks about how scary it was when the principal came to your classroom during school. Because I remember one time during class, all the students were talking, but the moment that door opened and we saw that it was the principal, the whole class immediately went silent. You would have thought she was a military leader with how scared she made everyone without even saying anything. She walked in and I was like, should I salute her or something? I don't know. But what was so funny about when the principal came to our class was our teacher would turn from the meanest person ever to the kindest. All of a sudden, someone would answer a question and the teacher would be like, good job, Anthony, you're so smart. Even though just 2 days ago, she told Anthony he's gonna be working at Walmart when he graduates. But what was really scary was when the principal would sit down next to you. Cause she sat down next to me a couple times and she would be like, what are you working on? And my hand would be shaking and I'd be like, I don't know. I was watching LeBron highlights. Then 5 minutes later, she would just vanish. I don't think my heart rate has been that high since. Rich people spend money on the dumbest things. Because I know someone who got hired by this really rich guy to literally just follow him around all day and take notes on what he says. Because he wants to write a book with all of his tips on how to become wealthy. So my friend starts doing this job, but after a couple of days, he was already bored of the job and he was like, there's gotta be a more efficient way to do this. And that was when he realized he could just use this AI note taker instead of having to listen to what he says all day. All he had to do was press record, and when the guy would talk, it would listen to everything he said. And once he stopped recording, it'd turn everything he said into notes for him. So my friend literally got paid $300 a day just to follow this guy around and record what he says. The most funny part is, the rich guy could have just used this app himself to record what he said. It's called TurboLearn, by the way, if you want to use it. But he didn't even need to hire anyone. My friend definitely ain't complaining though. I was staring at a girl on the bus because she had a piece of gum in her hair. And right as I'm about to open my mouth to tell her, she says, excuse me, I have a boyfriend. So I was like, all right, you're gonna give me attitude, I'm gonna give you attitude back. So I was like, what does your boyfriend think of your hair? And she said, why do you care? As she was running her fingers through her hair. And then she felt the piece of gum and she started crying. And I felt bad at first, but then she accused me of putting the gum there. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna mess with her. And I said, no, I didn't put the gum in your hair. Although I did see a homeless man earlier chewing on gum and he isn't anymore. And she started screaming. You may have done something stupid today, but it wasn't as stupid as what my friend did. My friend was throwing a surprise party for his girlfriend that he's been dating for 6 months. Remember that. And he invited a bunch of their friends over. But when she got there, everyone jumped out and yelled, surprise! But she was super confused. Why was she confused, you may ask? Well, you see, it turns out her birthday wasn't for another 3 months. How did my friend get her birthday that wrong, you may ask? Well, he never actually knew his girlfriend's birthday, but he thought he did. And it turns out that he mixed up his current girlfriend's birthday with his ex-girlfriend's birthday. And you know what the dumbest part was? He told her that. Why would you even admit that? Just don't talk. Don't say anything. There's nothing you can say that will make the situation better. But hey, I still had a free slice of cake, so it was a good day for me. The one thing you should never do during a school fire drill is use the bathroom. Because one time, I left class because I had to go number 2. Yes, I went number 2 in the school bathroom, okay? I had no choice. But anyways, the fire alarm goes off as I'm there. And if you've ever been in the bathroom when that alarm sounds, you know that it is loud in there. So I'm freaking out because the teacher never told us a fire drill was happening, so I didn't know if it was real. So I'm there trying to finish as quickly as possible just in case there's actually a fire and I need to get out. So I start wiping like there's no tomorrow. But the only problem is every school uses toilet paper thinner than a celebrity on Ozempic. So I'm wiping for like 10 minutes using the whole roll until finally it was good enough. So I quickly flush the toilet and run outside to see my whole classroom lined up. So I join them, but my teacher sees me and goes, Tyler, where were you? I just took attendance and you weren't there. Sorry, Mrs. Slater. I was busy fighting for my life. Maybe you should get some toilet paper that doesn't make me feel like Casper the Ghost is wiping me next time. Having the same teacher your older sibling had can either be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. Because there was 2 times where I was in this situation at school, but they played out very differently. The first time this happened, my brother must have been the best student in that class because on the very first day, the teacher is taking attendance, but then she says my name out loud and she goes, wait, your last name is Vitelli? And I say yes. Then she says, are you Ryan's younger brother? So I say I am. And she was like, that is awesome. So I felt like a Nepo baby in that class because she treated me way better than everyone else. But the second time this happened, when the teacher saw my last name, she went, Vitelli? Is Ryan your older brother? Then I go, yeah. And I asked if she knew him, but then she said, how could I forget him? What could my brother possibly have done in that class to get that reaction? She looked at me like my brother was the reason for her divorce. So I knew I was cooked for that class. That teacher disliked me so much, I thought about changing my last name just so that would never happen again. This is your warning to never date someone whose love language is physical touch. Because when a person has this love language, it's nonstop. If you aren't touching them for 1 second, they will think you hate them. You could be holding hands with them walking down the street and then get hit by a car and they'll still be mad at you because you let go of their hand. I remember one time I went to see a scary movie with this girl and we were holding hands, but there was a jump scare, so I flinched and accidentally yanked my hand away from her. And for the rest of the movie, I could tell she was angry at me. Like, sorry, I'm terrified of clowns. What do you want me to do? A person with physical touch as their love language could literally be wearing your skin as a jacket, and that still wouldn't be enough. Nobody talks about how hard it is to be in a friend group where everyone is indecisive. Because my friends and I rarely ever hang out, because anytime we try to, this is how the conversation goes. Do you guys want to go somewhere tonight? Yeah, I'm down. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do. Okay. Looks like we're doing nothing. But the worst part about everyone being indecisive is that I would ask my mom if I could go hang out with my friends, and she'd be like, what are you guys gonna do? And I'd be like, I don't know, we haven't decided yet. Then she'd be like, well, who's gonna go? And I'd say, I don't know. Then she'd say, how are you guys gonna hang out when you don't know where you're going or who's going? And I'd just have to be like, I have no idea, Mom. I don't know either. We may never hang out again. Never answer the phone they put in hotel rooms. Because I was staying at a hotel last week and it was really old, so I was already a little spooked. But around 1 a.m., while I'm sleeping, I get a call on the hotel phone. And I'm thinking to myself, who is calling in the middle of the night on the hotel phone? Because you can only call those if you're in the hotel. So I knew it was someone else staying there. So I pick it up, but all I hear is breathing. So I say, hello, is anyone there? But no response, just breathing. So I'm spooked and I hang up the phone, then go back to bed trying not to think about it anymore. Until about 5 minutes later, I get a call again. So I pick it up and say, is someone pranking me or something? And finally, I hear a voice. So I say hello again, but they don't respond, which makes me hang up. But then a couple minutes later, someone knocks on my door. So at this point, I'm shaking and I nervously look through the peephole and guess who it is? An employee. Cause right when I checked into the hotel 4 hours ago, I asked them if they could bring me extra towels, but apparently they were busy until 1 a.m. So they were finally bringing them to me, but their phone didn't work, I guess, when they were calling. So that's why they were just breathing. I'm glad that's all it was. But why are you bringing my towels in the middle of the night? Why do middle school teachers make high school sound so scary? Because when I was in middle school, one of my classmates unfortunately passed away from a sickness. And you may be like, Tyler, what does that have to do with your teacher making high school sound scary? Well, after this happened, there was a day in class where everyone was misbehaving. So the teacher screamed, which made everyone go quiet. Then she said, you guys think you can act like this in high school? You can't. If you try acting like this over there, you're gonna end up like Michael. Michael was the kid who passed away, by the way. But what did she even mean by that? Was it a threat? Because it kind of sounded like a threat. So anyways, after she said this, I was absolutely terrified for high school, thinking it was gonna be like a max security prison in there. But in reality, the teachers did not care. Like, high school was so chill that I used to play Call of Duty with one of my teachers. I'm pretty sure that teacher was just trying to threaten us. If someone asks you to guess their ethnicity, don't do it. Because I just saw this pretty girl at the airport, so I started talking to her, and eventually she asked what ethnicity I was, so I told her, but then I asked what hers was, and she wanted me to guess, and she kind of looked European, so I was like, are you Italian? She says no. So then I ask if she's Spanish. She says no again. So I guessed a couple more incorrect countries until it got to the point where it started to become awkward. So finally, I just asked her to tell me, and she said that she was German. But the only thing I knew about Germany was World War II, so I had the worst possible reaction to this information. Because I said to her, oh, Germany, nice. You guys had that 1 liter back in World War II, huh? And she just had that look on her face that was like, what did you just say? And I don't blame her because I was also thinking, what the heck did I just say? So right after that, she told me she had to get to her gate, which I knew was a lie because she said she was flying to Houston and the only plane going there wasn't leaving for another 2 hours. I don't blame her though. I would have left that conversation as soon as possible too. I need to learn more about other countries, bruh. We really need to teach our parents how to use emojis correctly because my mom was just texting me about the fires that are happening in California and I was saying how it's super sad because a lot of people lost their homes and some people even passed away. But in response to saying this, my mom sends me a message that says, yeah, apparently over 20 people have already passed away from the fire. But that wasn't the end of the message. You know what she sent right after that? 3 emojis, and it was the fire emoji, the skull emoji, and the freaky ghost emoji that sticks its tongue out. The emojis literally made it sound like she was telling a joke, and I was like, Mom, that is not the right context to use those. But then I sent the skull emoji after saying that, so she was like, why are you allowed to use the skull emoji in that text, but I can't use it in mine? And it made me realize, I was like, dang, she's right, because her situation was actually appropriate for the skull emoji while mine wasn't. But because we've changed the meaning of the emoji, it just doesn't fit there. Please teach your parents what the emojis mean. If you're on a date, never order anything green, because the other night I was at a restaurant and I saw this pretty girl a couple of tables over, so I was trying to act all nonchalant and mysterious. And to impress her, I decided to order a salad because I was hoping she would be thinking something like, ooh, who is this mysterious healthy hunk of a man? So my salad comes and I start eating it, and all of a sudden we make eye contact. So I smile at her real big, and what does she do back? She laughs. So I'm thinking, damn, I didn't even have to say anything and she's laughing already? She's definitely feeling me. Turns out that could not have been further from the truth because I was at this restaurant with my friend. So I was telling him how I think this girl likes me because she laughed at me when I smiled. But then he laughs at me too, as if there's a secret that I'm not in on. So I'm like, why are you laughing? And he responds with, how's that salad tasting? And I say, it's not bad, why? Then he says, well, it must have been pretty good since you saved some for later. And I say, okay, what are you talking about? So he tells me to go to the bathroom and smile into the mirror. So I do, and what do I see? A big piece of spinach lodged in between my 2 front teeth. The girl wasn't laughing because I was funny. She was laughing because I was funny looking. Imagine how dumb I looked trying to be all mysterious with spinach in my teeth. That's not nonchalant. That's hella chalant. So I was too embarrassed to approach her the rest of the night. But hey, at least now I have an excuse to never eat a salad again. To any girl that ever wants to know if a guy likes you, it's super easy to tell. Because my friend started liking this girl recently, but he didn't even tell me. I just figured it out on my own because of what he was doing. Because I was scrolling through social media and I saw that he posted a story, which was weird in itself because he never posts at all. But I click on it and it's a photo of a sunset with a Lana Del Rey song in the background. By the way, this guy's top artists last year were NBA Youngboy and Chief Keef. There's a 95% chance his most recent Google search was something along the lines of, is Lana Del Rey a person or a place? Do you really think someone that blasts NBA Youngboy is taking sunset pictures? Maybe. So when he posted this, I slid up on the story and said, what's her name? Then he replied saying, huh? So I asked what the name of the girl he likes was, and he goes, damn, was it that obvious? Well, considering the fact that you used to think Dua Lipa was the name of a yoga stretch, yeah, it was pretty obvious. Never get a haircut from a deaf person. Because my barber got deported recently, which means I had to find a new one. So I tried out this place I've never been to before today, and right when I walk in, all of the barbers are busy except one. So he waves in my direction, signaling for me to come over, so I do. But after I sit down, he doesn't ask what type of haircut I want or say anything at all. So I just take the initiative and start telling him the style I'm looking for. But as I'm doing that, another barber hears me and goes, oh, he can't hear you, he's deaf. First of all, he had an AirPod in. Why was he wearing that? But second of all, how am I gonna tell him the haircut I want? So the other barber says to show him a picture, so I do. But this is where I messed up, because in the picture I showed him, it was just how I wanted the sides to look, not the top. But obviously he couldn't hear me, so he thought I wanted the exact haircut from the pic. And what did that picture look like? This! I look like an egg! The whole process was a train wreck too. There was a point where he was using the razor on me, but it wasn't even on, and he couldn't notice because he didn't hear it. So honestly, this was probably all my fault. But if you have a barber like this, make sure you're specific. Why do moms just not answer you when you ask them a question? Because I've asked my mom before if I could go hang out with friends, and she would literally not respond even though she's 3 feet away. So I would ask her again, and then she would be like, I heard you the first time. Well, then why didn't you respond? Or sometimes I'll ask her a question and she'll be like, stop, I'm thinking. And I'll look at her phone and she's literally playing Candy Crush at the same time. Like, you ain't thinking, you're just straight up ignoring me. But the craziest thing was one time I was choking on a piece of sushi, so I was clapping to try to get her attention, and she literally just kept scrolling on her phone. She did not even move a muscle. And don't get me wrong, I have the best mother in the world, but I don't understand why moms do this. I think they're just tired of us, to be honest. This is your warning to never correct your teacher. Because I had a teacher who was pregnant. I know, shocker, teachers are always pregnant. But anyways, because of this, she was super emotional sometimes. And there was one day where you could tell she was really frustrated. So she's teaching our math class and she tries adding 2 numbers together, but she gets the answer wrong. So most of us students are looking at each other like, should we tell her she made a mistake? But then we all kind of silently agreed not to because we could tell she was in a bad mood. But apparently one of the students did not get the memo because he raises his hand. So the teacher calls on him and he goes, actually the answer is supposed to be 573, not 473. But you could tell this was the teacher's final straw because once he said this, the teacher put her marker down and goes, Albert, do you want to teach the class? And he responds by saying, I was just trying to help. But then she was like, let me do my job. If I made a mistake, I'll figure it out. So we all just looked at Albert like, why would you say that? Like, you knew that was gonna happen. She was so angry, I thought she was gonna pop the baby out right there. Have you ever met someone that is obsessed with their ex? Like, they try to hide it, but it's so painfully obvious because I know someone that still follows his ex on all social media platforms, and every time she posts, he always says something about it. Like, she has a new boyfriend, and when she posted him for the first time, my friend was like, oh, I feel so bad for that guy. He doesn't even know she's crazy yet. Like my brother, she doesn't even follow you anymore. She doesn't care about you. If she's so crazy, why do you still follow everything she does? But how I know for sure that he still likes her is that she posted a picture on her story of a song she was listening to by Ice Spice. And the next day, I'm in this man's car, and tell me why he starts playing Ice Spice. You might say, that might just be a coincidence. A lot of people listen to Ice Spice. No, this man only listens to country. And last time I checked, Ice Spice is not singing about tractors. So yes, this man is obsessed. And I've tried to tell him to let it go. Like, I've literally been like, bro, she does not want you. Give it up. But he will not listen. Honestly, I feel bad for him. He's delusional. I saw a TikTok video where someone was able to run 10 miles because they just imagine someone that's trying to pinch their nipples is chasing them. So I'm gonna try it. Mile 1 done. I feel so fast. This is easy. I could run forever. Mile 2 done. This is the worst thing ever. I don't know why people do this for fun. Mile 3 done. Tell my family I love them. I don't think I'm gonna make it home. I'm still on mile 4. I'm pretty sure I am paralyzed from the waist down. I've accepted the fact that this is the spot where I will pass away. Why do people date someone who cheated on their ex to be with them and then get surprised when they also get cheated on? Like, I know someone, let's call him Fred, and Fred liked this girl, and even though this girl was in a relationship with someone else, she would still give Fred attention. That's the first red flag, but eventually she cheated on her boyfriend with Fred, and then they started dating. So they're in love for a couple of months, but then Fred finds out that she cheated on him too. He tells me this crying, and he's like, I can't believe she cheated on me. Really? I can. But he's super sad, so I have to pretend to be shocked, and I'm like, what? You mean the girl that cheated in her last relationship with you cheated again? Who could have saw this coming? Stevie Wonder could have saw that coming. To be honest, I don't feel bad for him though. He was partially responsible for ruining the other guy's relationship, and he was delusional enough to think that the same thing would have happened to him. My barber got deported a couple weeks ago, so I'm trying a new one for the first time, and I'm kind of nervous. I hope he does a good job. Since old people in nursing homes like to listen to music from their generation like this, does that mean that when our generation is in nursing homes, we're gonna be like this? Fuck a pigeonhole, I'm a night owl, it's a different mode.
Nick and Cassie, I'm so happy you guys found love. And the best part is, you get to spend Valentine's Day with each other and not alone. Like some of us. When will it be my turn?
Oh, you think you're a picky eater? Well, I just went to a restaurant that I've never been to before yesterday that served American food. So I just assumed they would have chicken tenders on their menu because that's what I wanted. But after looking through the whole menu, I didn't see them. So I asked the waitress if they had chicken tenders and she said yes, but only on the kids menu. But the kids menu is only for ages 12 and under. And obviously, I don't look under 12 years old. I hope. But that was really the only thing that looked good on the menu. So when the waitress came to take our order, I just told her I wasn't gonna be getting anything except for a water. But then I asked if I could order chicken tenders for my nephew that was on his way. Did I actually have a nephew coming? Of course not. But she ain't getting paid enough to care. So when the chicken tenders came out, I ate them. Can we please just put chicken tenders on the normal menu? Adults like them too. If you ever see someone sleepwalking, do not wake them up. Because I was sleeping over at someone's house for the first time once, and they warned me before we went to bed that they have a history of sleepwalking. So I was like, all right, is there anything I should do about it? And he was like, no, it's usually fine. I just wanted to let you know so you don't get scared. So I figured this would be no big deal until later that night. I'm sleeping, but then I hear a loud noise come from the kitchen. So I go to investigate it, and I see my friend holding a fork in his hand. And I know he told me not to wake him up, but he kept waving the fork around, and I didn't want him to get hurt, so I tapped him a couple times. But nothing happened until I yelled out his name, and he quickly opened his eyes. But literally the moment he did that, he tried swinging at me with the fork. I asked him why he did that, but when he was finally fully awake, he was like, I don't even remember doing that. But then we looked into it, and apparently when you wake people up after they're sleepwalking, they get really aggressive. So don't try it. Rich people trying to be relatable is so funny because I had a friend growing up that was super wealthy. Like anything he wanted to buy, he would get. But everyone else in our friend group was just normal kids that had like 14 cents in their bank account. So he would try his best to act as if he had the same problems we had. Like one time, we all really wanted to go to a Lakers game, so we looked up the price of tickets and it was like $50. So all of us were like, dang, we're never gonna be able to go because we genuinely couldn't afford that. We didn't have jobs, we just played Fortnite 18 hours a day back then. But what was funny about the situation is when we found out the price, my rich friend was the one who acted the most upset out of all of us. He was literally like, dude, 50 bucks? That's insane. How does anyone afford to go to these games? Then one of our friends went, can't you like easily afford that? And he goes, yeah, I can. I was just trying not to rub it in your guys' faces. Hey, I appreciate the effort, man. Have you ever met a friend group that uses code names to talk about people at school? Because I didn't know this was even a thing until one time I was in class and I was eating M&Ms. And this girl I sat next to asked if she could take a picture of me holding them. So I was like, why? Then she started laughing and she said she couldn't tell me. But eventually, I got her to admit what was happening. And apparently, her and the rest of her friend group had code names for every guy at school. And I guess mine was M&M's. But I still didn't understand, so I was like, is it because I'm shaped like one? But she said, no, it's just our way of communicating without anyone knowing who we're talking about. Then she started naming a bunch of other guys at our school and the nicknames they had. And that's when I realized they were all candies. I'm just glad I wasn't the guy who got the nickname Candy Corn. They must have not liked him. I don't know who needs to hear this, but some people need to put their pets down already. Like I knew someone with an 18-year-old dog that was blind and deaf, so he would just sit there all day doing nothing. But when he would move around, he would just walk straight into the wall. And I saw this happen one time and the owner could tell that I was concerned. So they were like, oh, don't worry. He does this all the time. You think that makes me feel better? Now I know the dog is deaf, blind, and probably has CTE from banging his head against the wall. Also, he couldn't bark because he had throat cancer and the doctor had to cut out his vocal cords, which makes it even worse because you know if he could still speak, he would be barking, begging for the owner to put him down. Like that dog don't want to be here anymore, you know it, but you still force him to be. Just let Fido rest already. Never teach little kids new words because my friend's little brother watches my content and the other day he asked me what Diddy means. So I told him who it is and that if he ever sees him, he should run because he's Diddy's target audience. But after I taught him about this, his mom got home a couple minutes later and literally right when she arrived, he just ran around the house going, Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. And obviously he never said that word before I arrived. So his mom knew I taught it to him. She asked why I did that. So I was like, I don't know, he just asked. I didn't think it would become his new favorite word, but then she was like, oh, every time he learns a new word, it's all he says. The other week, his older brother taught him the word freak off, which I still don't know what that means, but for the next 3 days, he kept asking everyone if they wanted to have one. So I learned my lesson. Nobody talks about how dangerous it is to take an after-school nap, because you always think it's just gonna be a quick 30 minutes, but then all of a sudden, you wake up and it's 3 a.m. I literally had to stop myself from taking these naps, because one time, I went to go for a nap after school, and my whole family was home, but when I woke up, all the lights were off, and it was completely silent, so I was like, okay, looks like I just entered the void. But then I got up and started walking around the house, and that's when I realized no one was home, and it was also nighttime outside, so I texted my parents to see where everyone was at, and you know where they were? At dinner without me. So I asked them why they didn't wake me up to go eat, but they were like, we tried. We literally shook you telling you to wake up, but you refused, so we just figured you wanted to sleep more. I don't even remember them doing that though, so I don't know what they put in those after school naps, but it makes it impossible to wake up.
I went to school with a foreign exchange student who didn't speak any English, but he really wanted to learn it, so he would ask us to teach him words. And we would, but there was one kid who just loved to troll people. So he would purposely teach the foreign exchange student words in English, but lie about what they meant. Like he told him the word poop meant to eat. So when this poor kid was at lunch, he'd see our food and be like, "What are you pooping?" Instead of saying, "What are you eating?" But the worst part is, no one ever corrected it. I'm pretty sure he's still out there asking what people are pooping. Akira, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, bro.
Does anyone else have a friend you only call by their nickname? Like, it almost feels wrong to even say their actual name. Because I had a friend who everyone referred to as Beans. Because for some reason, that was all this man ate. That's not even an exaggeration either, because he would literally cook beans in the morning and bring them in a thermos, and that would be his lunch. Nothing else. Just Beans. So that's what we'd call him. But since we never used his real name, there was one day where he didn't come to school and I had a class with him. So when he didn't show up, the teacher, who knew I was friends with him, said, "You have any idea why Evan isn't here?" And I was like, "Who?" Then she goes, "Evan, you guys are always talking to each other." But for about 5 seconds, I had no idea who she was talking about. I didn't know an Evan until she pointed to where Beans usually sat. So then I was like, "Oh, you're talking about my boy Beans. His first name is Evan, huh?"
When I was younger, me and my classmates got our first day of school ruined because these older guys did a drive-by on us. And what I mean by that is 2 guys drove around in their car with megaphones and yelled, "Santa's not real! Santa's not real!" You would have thought that the school just got bombed because everyone was crying. The worst part, these guys were lying. Santa is real. He is. He is 100% real. They were lying. They were lying, okay?
Never fall asleep with AirPods in, because the other night I was listening to a true crime podcast before bed because it calms me down. And normally I just take my AirPods out when I want to start sleeping, but I had a really long day and I ended up falling asleep with them in, which I didn't think was a big deal. But I was wrong, because the podcast I was listening to was about a guy who would crawl through people's windows to get his victims. So I don't know if my brain was still listening to the story while I was sleeping, but in the middle of the night, I thought I heard a noise that woke me up. So I look around my room and I see this man that the podcast was describing climbing through my window. So I start freaking out, accepting that I'm about to meet my demise, but right before he could get to me, I woke up. So from now on, I'm just gonna listen to podcasts about things that I actually want to have dreams of, like LeBron. Gen Z being parents is so hilarious because we're not gonna be able to help our kids with anything. Like if my kid doesn't know how to do their math homework and they ask me for help, what am I gonna do? I stopped understanding that stuff when they added letters to it. ChatGPT better be real good by the time I have kids in school, or else we're both gonna be crying. We might not even be able to help them with learning how to spell because we don't know how to either. Have you seen a TikTok comment section recently? Every word is abbreviated. Like, why did we start abbreviating the word this? It's already 1 syllable. And then my kid's gonna be complaining about how much school sucks and that he doesn't wanna go. And instead of just consoling him, telling him that it's gonna be okay, I'm gonna start crying too and be like, I know, right? School is awful. It's why I started embarrassing myself on the internet instead. Have you ever looked at the first question of a test and realized you're cooked? Like, you literally just give up right away after reading it. I was taking a test once in chemistry, which was by far my worst subject throughout all of school. It was like those tests were in Mandarin. But I was super nervous for this one specific test because my grade was already pretty bad. So I knew I couldn't afford to keep shooting air balls on all these exams. But then the teacher hands it out, and immediately I only understood like 2 words on the first question. Okay, no big deal. Let's just skip that one and go to question 2. But no, can't do that, because you know what question 2 says? Based off your answer to question 1, solve this problem. When I read that, I put my pencil down, tipped my cap to my teacher, and quit. I knew it was over. It was kind of nice though, because all the stress and anxiety from the test was gone. And now it was just pure acceptance that I was absolutely cooked. Gen Z is the most unserious generation ever, because I just saw body cam footage from a cop who was arresting this girl that looked about my age because she was driving without a license. So he asked her to step out of the car. And I don't know if the girl just didn't care about getting in trouble or what, because the cop went to put handcuffs around her and she said, "Ooh, getting handcuffs put on me is one of my kinks." And you could tell that made the officer so uncomfortable, because then she went, "Can you put them on tighter?" And he was like, no, I don't think I will. So he said, "You do realize you're going to jail for this, right?" And she responds with, "Yeah, I didn't want to show up to work tomorrow anyway, so you're actually doing me a favor." The cop almost sounded like he didn't even want to arrest her anymore because of how much she was enjoying it. So if I ever get arrested, I'm just gonna try doing what she did. Probably won't work the same because I don't think a 40-year-old male cop will find me as attractive as her, but hey, it's worth a shot.
Have you ever been in a conversation with someone where they say something sad but like kind of funny, and then you just respond with the most insane facial expression ever, and then think, I should not have made that face out loud? Because I was talking to someone and they were telling me how their grandma passed away from falling off a jet ski at 84 years old. And I kid you not, this was my reaction. I did that face for like a second and then I stopped because I was like, That is the most out-of-pocket reaction I could have just had to what she said. I think I just have like no social awareness at all.
Gen Z is starting to become pilots, and it is so scary because I had a flight the other day, but as I was waiting to board the plane, I was talking to this guy that was wearing a suit, so I just assumed he was a flight attendant on my flight because he looked pretty young, and eventually he goes to board the plane with all the other people working on it. But then later when it's my turn to get on, I walk inside the plane, look in the cockpit, and who do I see? The guy I was talking to in the pilot's seat. But oh, Tyler, who cares if the pilot's young as long as he's qualified? I agree. But when we were talking to each other before boarding, he was telling me about how he has ADHD. This man just told me he struggles to focus for long periods of time, but now I'm supposed to trust him to focus going all the way from Dallas to Los Angeles? But what's even crazier is, he had AirPods in while we were waiting to board, and I could hear him listening to Chief Keef. I thought this man was gonna try to do a barrel roll if that's what he's listening to while flying. He ended up doing a great job though.
I just ran over my hamster. I'll show it to you in a second, but it died yesterday and I put it in a box because I was gonna go bury it today. And for some reason I put this stupid box on top of my car. So when I drove away, I ran over the box. I'm so sorry, Alfred. You didn't deserve this.
Growing up ugly is so much better than growing up good looking because when you're ugly, it forces you to have a personality. Because if you're ugly and don't have a personality, you ain't gonna have any friends. And I know this because when I was younger, I was not handsome. My long lost twin was Quasimodo, so the ladies were not flocking to me to say the least. And the only way for me to make friends was to be funny. So naturally, I was forced to work on my personality just to get people to like me. Didn't work that great because I still don't get any girls. But now I'm so glad I had to grow up like that because I've talked to some people before that are gorgeous. But you can tell they never had to form a personality for people to like them, so they didn't. And I don't even blame them. If I could have just sat there mogging everyone all day looking like this, I would have done the same thing. Instead, I was born looking like baby Spencer from iCarly. When I have kids, I'm gonna be so dramatic describing what COVID was like to them. I'm literally gonna make it sound like I lived through an apocalypse because just the other day, I was talking to my friend's little brother who's maybe 6 years old. So he doesn't really have any memory of COVID, but we were talking about that time. And I'm not kidding when I tell you, I made it sound like a horror movie. I was like, people were passing away left and right. We were locked in our houses for days, weeks, months. But the most funny part was when I said to him, you couldn't even buy toilet paper. Because then he was like, well, what'd you use instead? And I just said, anything we could find. Napkins, towels, pets. I was being as dramatic as possible. Meanwhile, all I actually did during the pandemic was clock 9 hours a day on Fortnite. I even miss that era sometimes, but I'm never gonna let the future generations know that. Nobody talks about how scary it is to do a school presentation in a class you have friends with, because they will do literally everything in their power to make sure you laugh while presenting. So you have to force yourself to not make eye contact or else they're gonna be staring at you with the most ridiculous face ever. But then even if you do somehow manage to get through the whole thing without looking at them, it's not over. Because whenever I would do presentations in school, after we finished, the teacher would ask the class if they had any questions, and normally, no one would ask anything. Except for when me and my friends presented. Because my friends knew I just copy and pasted my whole project from the internet and I didn't actually know anything about the subject. So they would ask a bunch of questions about my presentation that I didn't know the answer to. But I do it right back to them when they presented. So we would just both end up with awful grades. I hope it was worth it. If you're in an Uber and the driver starts talking to you, be careful. Because I was in one the other day with my friend and we like to do this thing where we pretend to be bilingual. So we'll just speak in gibberish and act as if it's a different language. So that's what we did in the Uber, but this driver was really friendly and social. So he asked what language we were speaking and I just said the first one to pop in my head, which was Portuguese. But that was literally the worst language I could have said because immediately he responds by asking us a question in Portuguese. He actually knew how to speak it. Obviously, we didn't know how to respond because we didn't really speak the language. So we start panicking and I'm like, do I just pretend to be deaf? But then I said, to be honest, dude, I have no idea what you just said. We don't actually speak Portuguese. I don't know why we made that up. And he just goes, oh. And not one word was said the rest of the ride. We really need to stop teaching old people brain rot because I was at a restaurant the other day, but at the table in front of me, there was a family with 2 kids who were anywhere from 10 to 12 years old. But they were pretty loud, so I could hear the conversations they were having with their parents. And all I can say is, I feel so bad for them. They were teaching them brain rot like how a parent teaches their kid the alphabet. One of the kids was literally like, Dad, say hawk, hawk. Now say Tua, Tua. Now put it all together. Hawk, Tua, hawk Tua. Then the kids would just start laughing. But that wasn't all because when the food arrived, one of the kids stole a couple fries from his parents. So his dad was like, hey, don't take my fries, you have your own. But the little kid responded by saying, this is your phantom tax. And you could tell the dad didn't even want to bother learning that phrase because instead of asking what it meant, he just started eating his own meal while shaking his head in confusion. These older generations must feel so lost. Oh, you think your parents are bad with technology? Well, my mom recently told me she thought her phone was broken. But when I asked what was wrong with it, she said she couldn't receive any text messages or phone calls, which was weird because it was brand new. So she was like, yeah, I think the phone company just gave me one that doesn't work. I'm gonna go return it and get a new one. So I was like, wait, before you do that, let me see if I can help with the problem. So she gave me her phone and I texted it to see if it was really having the problem she said, and it did. So then I tried figuring out why this was happening. And literally within 10 seconds, I found out her phone wasn't broken. She just had do not disturb on. I turned it off and what do you know? All of a sudden she was getting text messages and phone calls again. But there's no better feeling than fixing technology for old people. All you do is press one button and they think you're the next Einstein. Does anyone else have a friend that has no social anxiety? Like, I literally question whether these types of people are real humans or not, because one time my friend went to the dentist and when he was done, he was telling me about how he had a really big crush on the dentist, but he swore she liked him back. So I was like, what makes you think that? And he said it was because they were holding eye contact with each other for a long time. But then I went, wait, how are you making eye contact with the dentist while she's working on your teeth? And he just says, oh, because when she was leaning over me flossing my teeth, I would just stare into her eyes. So I was like, hold up. You were staring at the dentist's eyes while she was working on your teeth? That is literally like the one thing you shouldn't do when you're at the dentist. Everyone knows that the #1 rule is that you stare at the ceiling while the dentist is working on you. But he just thought that was a completely normal thing to do. He somehow doesn't overthink anything.
Did I just fail the most important test of my life 10 minutes ago? Yeah, but hey, at least all the stress and anxiety leading up to it is gone now.
Having a best friend is so scary because no matter what happens, you have to stay homies forever since they know all your secrets. Like, forget your friend's group chat getting leaked, a best friend breakup would be 10 times worse. Because there were these people I knew who were best friends. Like, they did everything together. But one of them had a girlfriend, and that girl ended up cheating on the guy with his best friend. So obviously, they weren't friends anymore after he did him dirty. But like I said, they were super close, and apparently they shared an Amazon account to save money. But after this happened, the friend that got cheated on was super mad and wanted to get revenge. So he decided to go on an Amazon shopping spree buying thousands of dollars worth of stuff. But he didn't use his credit card, no. He used his ex-homies. This could never happen to me though, because the moment they try buying that stuff, my card's getting declined. I hate texting for one reason, which is the fact that no one actually means what they say when they're texting. Like, my friend was showing me a video on his phone one time, but while he was doing this, someone sent him a funny video, so he was like, wait, let me respond to this real quick. So he took the phone and texted them back in all caps saying, ha 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 ha, I'm screaming, rolling on the ground right now. But you know how he looked when he was typing that out? Like this. Ha ha ha, I'm screaming, crying on the ground right now. No, you ain't. You ain't even smiling. You're texting that person back, making them think they just sent you the most hilarious video you've ever seen. When in reality, you've laughed harder when someone makes a fart noise. I can't even lie, I'm guilty of doing this too. So now whenever someone responds to a text I send like that, I just assume they didn't even find it remotely funny. Does anyone else have a person in their friend group that just gets bullied for no reason? Like, even if they aren't doing anything wrong, they're just the group's punching bag. Because me and my friends were getting in a heated argument one time about whether it's better to watch a show in a different language dubbed or with subtitles. And it got to the point where we were yelling, but then my poor friend who gets bullied for no reason, who wasn't even a part of the argument, coughed because he was eating a chip and it went down the wrong pipe. But this just made everyone in the group more mad than they already were. So they were like, shut up, Derek, you're not a part of this argument. Meanwhile, Derek is just sitting there fighting for his life while a chip is going round for round with his esophagus. He couldn't even defend himself either because he was practically choking. We need justice for all the Dereks in the friend group out there.
I made a video talking about how a bunch of people were screenshotting my face when I looked really ugly and making it their profile picture, but after I posted that, everyone in the comments on that video did the same thing. Except now, they're editing my face to make me look even more ugly. So now, I'm just gonna wear a hat and not show any emotion in my videos to make sure there is no way you can get an ugly screenshot of me. Checkmate.
Does anyone else have a person in their friend group that just gets bullied for no reason? Like, even if they aren't doing anything wrong, they're just the group's punching bag. Because me and my friends were getting in a heated argument one time about whether it's better to watch a show in a different language dubbed or with subtitles. And it got to the point where we were yelling, but then my poor friend who gets bullied for no reason, who wasn't even a part of the argument, coughed because he was eating a chip and it went down the wrong pipe. But this just made everyone in the group more mad than they already were. So they were like, shut up, Derek, you're not a part of this argument. Meanwhile, Derek is just sitting there fighting for his life while a chip is going round for round with his esophagus. He couldn't even defend himself either because he was practically choking. We need justice for all the Dereks in the friend group out there. Does anyone else have a friend you can't be in a serious situation with? Like, someone could have just passed away and they're still gonna make a joke about it or laugh. Because unfortunately, I'm like this. And one time, my friend was crying, so I asked him what was wrong, but before he was even able to tell me, I started laughing. I just couldn't hold it in, but I got it under control after a couple seconds. And finally, that was when he told me his parents were getting a divorce. And obviously, this is like the worst news you can get as a kid. So I didn't think it was funny at all, but for some reason, I just could not stop myself from laughing. This is how the interaction went.
Yeah, man, my parents are getting a divorce.
Sorry, man, I got a cough. That's horrible, bro. I'm here for you. I can't control it. I'm not trying to laugh. I think I just don't know how to act in awkward situations, so my brain's reaction is to laugh. If there's a cure for this, please let me know. If you're in a group chat with your friends, just know that there's also a second group chat with only the core members of the group in it. And if you don't think that's true, it's because you're not in it. And I had to learn this the hard way because a couple of years ago, I had a group chat with my friends, and one day they posted a picture at an amusement park. So I was like, damn, I couldn't get an invite. But one of my friends who must have just not been thinking said, what are you talking about? We planned this in the group chat a couple days ago. Everyone was invited. But I scrolled through the previous text to make sure I wasn't developing Alzheimer's, and sure enough, I was right. They never mentioned anything about going to an amusement park. Then I found out it was because that text was only sent to a separate group chat. This is how it always goes for me though. I'm a part of a lot of friend groups, but I'm never a core member in any of them. It's kind of depressing. I just found out that some people I used to go to school with thought that I've been dead for years. Cause I was at the store and I saw one of my friends from my old school. But when we made eye contact, he looked so surprised to see me. So I said what's up to him. And he told me he thought I passed away a while back. So I was like, huh? What made you think that? But then he explained it to me and it all made sense because when I was younger, I randomly switched schools one day, but I didn't tell any of the people at my current school that this was happening. So one day, all of a sudden, I just wasn't there anymore. So my classmates thought I passed away. But then I said to him, that's kind of extreme to assume I just passed away because I stopped showing up, isn't it? But then he was like, well, yeah, but the last couple days you were at school, you were saying how you felt really sick. So we just assumed you caught some disease and passed away. Now I kind of want to just go find my old classmates in public and stare at them as if I was a ghost.
I think I accidentally joined a gang because I made a video the other day where I did this sign because I thought it meant okay. But after I uploaded it, I got a DM that said, yo, be careful with those hand signs you're doing in your videos. So I responded back asking what he meant. And this is where I started to get scared because he told me that sign, which I probably shouldn't have done again now that I think about it. But anyways, he said it's a sign for a dangerous gang. But he didn't stop there because then I asked if I was in any danger for doing this sign. And he was like, nah, probably not. The gang is only in Los Angeles. So as long as you're not there, you should be good. That's great, but brother, I live in Los Angeles. If anyone in any gang sees this, I mean no harm. I ain't like that.
Growing up is so crazy because my friend just got engaged, and when he broke the news to me, he said he wanted to thank me for making this happen. But I was like, what are you talking about? I wasn't like the one to introduce you guys to each other or anything. But then he said, no, you made it happen for a different reason. And then he asked me if I remembered when him and his future wife first started going out. And I was like, yeah, why? Then he goes, well, you were the one telling me what to say in those text messages to her when I wanted to ask her out. So then it hit me, and I remembered that when they first started talking, he would be super nervous around her and not know what to say because of how much he liked her. So I would just type the messages on his phone and send them, which eventually led to them dating. When he told me this, I was so happy, but at the same time, how did I help someone else get married before I could even get a girlfriend? When will it be my turn? Never go to the chiropractor if you get embarrassed easily, because I've been having back problems lately, so my friend was like, hey, you should try going to the chiropractor. And he gave me the number of the one he goes to, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? Well, I regret saying that because I show up, and this guy is like super friendly, like over friendly. And he tells me to lay down on the table, so I do. And he starts rubbing his elbow on my back real hard, and it's kind of hard to breathe when he does this. By the way, I had Chipotle before I came here, which is an important detail. Because the chiropractor would do this thing where he would be like, okay, take a deep breath, and I would, and then he would tell me to exhale, and he would push on my back really hard. But I was not aware just how much force he was gonna put into my back when he did this. So I exhaled, and he pushed into my back, and I let out the loudest fart ever. It was like the fart was being shot out of a cannon with how aggressive it sounded, but I think I almost blew my shorts off. And the chiropractor chuckled a little bit, but then he was like, oh, don't worry, this happens all the time. But then he starts coughing, and I'm like, damn, did I just gas this guy out with the fumes from my fart? So he finishes adjusting my back, but then he's like, do you want me to adjust your neck too? And I almost said yes, but then I thought about it, and I was like, is he just asking this so he can snap my neck for revenge? So I said, no, thank you, and I left. But I'm just gonna suffer through the back pain from now on. I'm not going back. Why do people who can't wake up to alarms have the most obnoxious ones? Because I almost hit my brother with a frying pan last night because he went to bed 2 hours before me, and this guy cannot wake up to an alarm no matter what. But he had 20 alarms set for 6 a.m. So when 6 a.m. came around, guess who woke up? Not him. He just sleeps through it the whole time. And you know what the worst part is? This is his ringtone. Why would you choose that one? Every time it goes off, I think we're getting a tsunami warning in the middle of the night. And somehow, he sleeps right through it every time. I'm gonna throw his phone out the window next time. Matter of fact, I could throw him out the window. He still wouldn't wake up. Have you ever noticed how different guys' hear me outs are versus girls? Because for guys, it's usually pretty boring. They'll say Sabrina Carpenter is their hear me out, and you'll be like, dude, do you even know what hear me out means? Because that is literally like the most common celebrity crush. We're not bold at all for our hear me outs. But for girls, it's the complete opposite. Girls will have things that you never would have even thought of as their hear me out. And I say things because it's not always even something that's living. Like, what do you mean the Pythagorean theorem is your hear me out? I tried so hard to understand that one, but I just couldn't get it. Maybe it's because I always sucked at math. But then when they actually do choose someone that is living, it's something bodacious. Like I saw a video where this girl said her hear me out was Thomas the Train. I don't even want to know what was going on in your head watching that show as a child. Good for my boy Thomas though. Having a girl best friend is not for the weak because I dislocated my kneecap a while ago and I was super sad because this meant I was gonna miss my baseball season. So I came to school the next day and this girl that was my friend asked me why I was wearing a leg brace. So I was like, oh, I hurt my knee playing basketball. And I said it in a really sad tone like that. And she responds by saying, oh, period. So then I go, what? Then she goes, period. You don't know what period means? And I'm like, no, I do. I think. I just don't understand how that's the word you say as a reaction to my kneecap falling off. Like imagine you see someone crying and you ask them what's wrong and they say, my grandma just passed away. And you respond by saying, slay. That's what this felt like. But it was my fault for getting upset because what I didn't realize at the time is when girls use words like this, it can mean many different things. It just depends on the situation. So if something bad happens to you, like a relative passing away and a girl says, period, just know that she's trying to be supportive.
I made a video talking about how a bunch of people were screenshotting my face when I looked really ugly and making it their profile picture, but after I posted that, everyone in the comments on that video did the same thing. Except now, they're editing my face to make me look even more ugly. So now, I'm just gonna wear a hat and not show any emotion in my videos to make sure there's no way you can get an ugly screenshot of me. Checkmate.
Have you ever been hanging out with your friend and their mom uses you as an example of how they should act? Like there's no better feeling than that, but it's also scary because you'll just be standing there and she'll be like, Jimmy, why can't you be more like Tyler? He's always so respectful and hardworking. And you can tell Jimmy is about to tell his mom the most preposterous, vile thing you've ever done in your life just to make himself not look as bad. Like my friend's mom said this to him once because he failed a test and I did really good on it. But I made a mistake because I was egging him on and I was like, yeah, dude, why aren't you more like me, huh? So this made him angry and he was like, Mom, the only reason Tyler did good on the test was because he cheated off the smart kid. But when he told her that, she snitched to my mom about what I did. And then I ended up getting in trouble and my mom was lecturing me about how I should be more like my friend because he actually studied instead of cheating. I guess none of the kids are behaving. Do people actually have foot fetishes? Because someone DM'd me and they said, how much for feet pics? And I thought they were just kidding at first. So I replied back joking too. And I said, I charge per toe. But then they sent me $10 and they said, okay, now you know I'm serious. So how much do you charge per toe? I didn't reply for like a day and I thought it would just end there. But he kept spamming me and he said, how much do you charge per toe? And I said, wait, are you actually serious? And he said, yeah, I have a foot fetish. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna say a huge dollar amount so that he says no. And then he stops asking me for feet pics. So I said, $500 for feet pics. But he said, okay. So then I had to think for a second. I was like, wait, should I actually send him feet pics if he's gonna give me $500? But I didn't do it because it felt too weird. But I never knew people actually had foot fetishes. I thought it was a joke the whole time. Like send feet pics? I didn't know that was real. But like, what would you do? Is this weird or am I tripping? Like, should I send the pics? I could use the money. I'm not gonna lie.
I made a video the other day showing off my bad haircut, and a bunch of people in the comments screenshotted my face when I looked really ugly and made it their profile picture. So from now on, I'm just gonna talk like this so you can't get an embarrassing screenshot of me. Ha ha.
There is nothing more embarrassing than when you accidentally keep making eye contact with the same person. Because every time this happens, they think you're flirting with them. One time I was at the mall waiting in line to get a corn dog, and within maybe 30 seconds, I made eye contact with the same girl 7 times, completely on accident. So she started smiling at me, and I could tell she thought I was flirting with her. So after I got my corn dog, she started walking over towards me, but I got scared because I was not trying to flirt. So I just walked in the opposite direction, but she followed me waiting for me to stop so she could approach me. And it felt like I was in a police chase trying to evade the cops. I was weaving through people just trying to disappear until eventually I was able to get to the parking lot and leave. Nothing against the girl, I'm sure she was sweet, but that was not the message I was trying to send. It was an accident, I'm sorry.
There is nothing more embarrassing than how fast someone can get on my best friends list. Like I just added this girl from school on Snapchat because she wanted me to send her the answers to our homework. But literally after I sent one picture, she was number 2 on my best friends list. But the worst part is, you know who's number 1? My AI bot! I need friends.
The difference between visiting your mom's side of the family versus your dad's is so crazy. Because when I visit my mom's side, it's like a party. Like we spend every holiday with them, whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter. And I'd always look forward to it because we're super close. But for my dad's side of the family, it's like a whole different world. I barely even know anyone on that side. I could literally walk down the street and see 5 people from my dad's side of the family that I'm related to, and I wouldn't recognize them. I'm not even exaggerating because one time I went to a wedding for someone on my dad's side of the family, and the whole time, my dad just kept introducing me to people, and I would be like, wait, Dad, who's this? Oh, that's your uncle. My uncle? You have a brother? Why did I not know that? To be honest, I don't even really know who the wedding was for either. I'm just glad I got free cake. If you're ever thinking about looking up your teacher on social media, don't do it. Because a couple years ago during school, I had a teacher that everyone was terrified of. He was super strict, never smiled, and he always smelled like lavender for some reason. But anyways, one day my friend asked me what I think our teacher does when he's not teaching because we could not imagine this guy outside of the classroom. So I was like, I don't know. Let's try looking him up on social media. So we typed in his name and right away, we found his profile. But we were traumatized because apparently outside of school, he had a hobby of drawing. And you may say, well, Tyler, what's the problem with that? Nothing, except for the fact that every single drawing of his was just girls with really big melons. Every single one. All his posts were just drawings of girls that were shaped like Mewtwo. And listen, I ain't judging, but you might want to make that profile private, Teach. I just got bullied by a vegan lady because I was eating at Chipotle and there was a girl sitting at the table next to me who had a dog with her. So I'm just enjoying my meal like usual, but then I accidentally drop a piece of chicken from my bowl onto the ground. And I didn't even notice I did this at first until this lady aggressively tapped on my shoulder. So I turned to her and said, hello? Then she goes, can you please stop trying to feed my dog? So I say, what are you talking about? Then she goes, I saw you drop chicken on the ground for my dog to eat. But I was like, ma'am, if I dropped any food on the ground, I promise it was an accident. I'm not trying to feed your dog. But she wasn't happy with that answer because she said, I don't care why you dropped food on the ground. Just don't do it again. My dog is vegan. Did you just say your dog is vegan? Did he tell you that? Or now I kind of actually wanted to drop some chicken on the ground to help the poor guy out. Are vegan dogs like actually a thing?
Does anyone else have a friend that never responds to any of the videos they send them? It's literally like you're trying to converse with a brick wall because they just refuse to say anything. You could have just watched the most funny video ever and you're thinking, oh man, my friend would love this. And you send it to them and it's just crickets. Like, you can't at least give me a little laughing emoji to make me feel good? And the worst part is, I know he doesn't even watch them because I've sent him a video before that said, send this video to your friend. And if they don't respond with the skull emoji, they don't watch the videos you send them. And you know what happened when I sent him that video? Nothing. The crazy part is, I still send him videos every day knowing that he's not gonna respond because I'm just hoping that one day he'll actually watch the video and respond with something like a laughing emoji. When that happens, it'll make all the videos that I've sent him that he ignored worth it. It's never gonna happen.
If there's one person you should never be friends with, it's someone who has creative insults because you can never argue with them. If you do, they're just gonna roast you in the most unimaginable way ever. I have a friend who's like this, and there was a time where he got a really bad haircut. And rule number one about being friends with someone is that if they get a bad haircut, you have to cook them for it. So I did, but I immediately regretted it because after I did it, he makes eye contact with me, and without saying anything, he looks me up and down. So I knew I was about to get cooked like some barbecue chicken already. But then he goes, I find it really interesting that you're trying to make fun of my appearance when you look like a character in a zombie movie that just got bit, but is trying to hide it from the rest of the group. I couldn't even understand what that meant at first. So as I was thinking about it, I was like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Oh, now I get it. Damn, he's right. Congrats, man, you win, okay? Just leave me alone. If your friend has a job, do not show up there while they're working. Because my friend used to work at Subway and I was super bored one day. So being the good friend I am, I decided to visit him while he was working and mess with him. But I didn't realize what the consequences of doing this would be because when I got there, he asked what I wanted to order. So I told him I wanted a sandwich with olives. But every time he would add olives, I would ask him to put more and more and more until there was like a pound of olives on the sandwich. And every time he would do what I said, I would be like, good boy. But after I finished my order and left, he sent me a picture about an hour later of a paper inside Subway with my face on it saying, this person is not allowed inside this establishment. He got me banned from Subway. Can a man not order an olive sandwich in peace anymore?
To anyone that's ever wondered why girls all go to the bathroom together, I think I figured it out. Because the other day, I was at a restaurant, but I had to go number 2 really bad. So I quickly ran into the bathroom and went into a stall, but when I was on the toilet, I heard a group of people walk in, and I didn't think anything of it at first until I heard them speak. Because they sounded a lot like girls, so I looked under the stall, and that's when I realized I ran into the women's restroom instead of the men's. So I just stayed as quiet as possible, hoping that no one would notice me. But while I was in there, I heard this sound go off like 100 times. And the flash was going off like every second in there. It felt like a club. So I realized this group of girls was having a full-on photo shoot in the bathroom. But the worst part was I was waiting till they left to get out of the stall because I didn't want them to see me in the women's restroom. But they stayed in there for so long taking pictures that I just had to sit in the stall for like an hour. Okay, it wasn't that long, but it felt like it. I'm not even joking, I almost fell in the toilet. I'm still sore from sitting on that thing so long.
I got a DM yesterday asking why I'm lying about being American, so I replied to it saying, what are you talking about? I am American. But then they said, no, you clearly aren't. So I asked what makes them think that, and then they said I don't have an American accent. But I didn't even know what that meant, so I asked them what they thought an American accent sounded like, and they sent me a video of someone from New York. They thought since New York is in America and people over there talk differently, everyone in America talks like that. To all the non-Americans out there, trust me, most of us don't talk like we're in the Godfather movie.
Have you ever had a friend that will defend you even when they know you're in the wrong? Like, you could have done the most diabolical thing ever and they would still find a way to justify it just because you guys are homies. A perfect example of this is when I got punched in the face and my friend saw my black eye. So he was like, bro, what happened? And I told him another dude punched me. Then he said, no, we can't stand for that. Let's go teach him a lesson right now. But then he asked why I got punched and I was like, oh, because I threw my applesauce at him during lunch. And he goes, oh, like as a joke, right? No, he was talking to the girl I liked, so I threw my applesauce at his face as hard as I could. Okay, well still, applesauce doesn't hurt, so he shouldn't have responded by punching you. Oh no, he only punched me because after I threw my applesauce, I then went up to him and punched him first. He's just a better puncher than me, clearly. Okay, well that's what he deserves. Listen, I'm definitely not proud of my actions I did as a 7th grader, but still,
Everyone needs a homie like this.
Why do guys always take on the personality of their girlfriend? Because I have a friend who just got in his very first relationship, and he's clearly madly in love. Good for him. But the only problem is, I texted him the other day showing him a picture of a new jacket that I got, and his response was, "It's giving Hunger Games." First of all, ow, that hurts my feelings. Second of all, it's giving? When did you start saying that? I don't even think you knew what that phrase meant 3 months ago. Also, when he said this, I still hadn't met his girlfriend at the time. So about a week later, we all go to lunch together and I finally meet her. And this girl asks what I do for work. And after I tell her, she says, "Slay." Right when she said that, I was like, oh, okay, now I see what happens. This man just completely stole his girlfriend's whole personality. But good for him. He's in love. I'm not mad about it. Because if you ask about my love life right now, it's giving lonely.
If there's one thing you should never do at school, it's let people borrow money. Because I was waiting in line to get lunch one time during school, but the kid behind me didn't have any money. And we kinda knew each other, so he asked me if he could borrow 20 bucks. But I was like, wait, lunch is only $4, why do you need 20? And he said he wouldn't have lunch money for the whole week because it was Monday and his mom gives him his allowance on Saturday. And apparently he already spent all the money for that week on video games. But he promised me he would pay me back the next Monday, so I was like, all right, fine, here's the $20. And I didn't think anything more of it until the next week. I remembered the kid was supposed to pay me back, but I hadn't seen him at school the past couple of days. So I asked one of his closer friends if they knew where he was at. And they were like, oh, Mikel? He moved back with his family to Spain last week. And I go, last week? What day? Monday. You mean Monday, as in the day he asked me for the $20? He was never gonna use that money for food. He just knew he could rob me, so he did it. Mikel, if you're seeing this, I don't care that it was 12 years ago. I'm coming to Spain for that $20.
I have seen 3 different animals pass away in 3 really weird different ways this week. The first animal I saw pass away was a possum. It was in a trash can, and the trash can fell over, the possum rolled out, and I ran it over on accident. The second time, my dog was barking at a squirrel, so the squirrel climbed up a telephone pole, got electrocuted, and fell into our pool. And the third time, which was the most stupid, was I was getting into my car and then I started to close my door, and as I closed my door, a butterfly tried to fly in and I crushed it. I had a friend who ate a butterfly once. Weird kid. I'm pretty sure he's in prison now. But anyway, has anyone else seen stuff like this happen to animals? Or am I just cursed?
The craziest part about growing up is becoming old enough to learn about your family's lore. Because when you're younger, you just think your family is completely normal with no crazy stories. Until one day, your dad randomly decides you're old enough to tell you an insane story that will change how you view your family forever. Like, what do you mean Ted Bundy is your second cousin? But it's so funny because they'll just casually drop it on you as if it's no big deal. You'll be eating dinner with them like normal, and then out of nowhere, your mom will tell you something that will become your new go-to when you play 2 truths and 1 lie. She'll be like, oh, by the way, honey, great-grandma Shirley was one of the people who survived the Titanic shipwreck. Yeah, no, I'm serious. Here's a picture. Then she just shows you a flick of your great-grandma boarding the Titanic at 22 years old waving goodbye to her family. Maybe the stories of them having to travel 5,000 miles just to get to school every day weren't fake.
Have you ever gotten a text from someone and you respond right away, but then they somehow don't respond back for hours? Like, what could you possibly have been doing within those 2 milliseconds of texting me and me texting you back to where you didn't see the message? Is this what you do right after sending the text? And send. Like, I know you're still on your phone when I texted you back, so what's the deal? And I get it, some people don't like to respond right away, and that's fine. Take 5-10 minutes to respond, but not 6 days. I texted my friend last week asking who he thinks is gonna win the Super Bowl, and he just responded to me yesterday saying the Eagles. Like, why are you even answering that question? You watched the game already. If there's one positive thing from this, at least I know who I'm not putting on my emergency contact list.
I just got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I didn't answer it at first, but then they left a voicemail saying, hello? Is this Tyler Vitelli? So since they knew my name, I called them back. And once again, they go, hi, Tyler Vitelli? And I say, yes, that's me. But then I got absolutely shocked because they go, hi, Tyler, I'm Catherine. Do you know anyone by the name of John? I'm not gonna say his last name, but I did know this person. The John she was referring to is my friend. So I was like, yeah, I know John, why? Then she told me that he put me down as a reference for a job he's applying to. So the lady asks if John has ever worked for me. And even though he definitely hasn't, I'm always gonna try to help my homies out. So I was like, yeah, he did. She goes, great. How was John as an employee? Man, John was the best. Always showed up early, hardest working person I know. My only regret is when he decided to leave us. Was any of this true? Absolutely not. I actually don't think John has ever had a job a day in his life, but still, that ain't gonna stop me from trying to help. John, if you're watching, I hope you get the job, bro. You know how when you're talking to someone and you can't understand what they're saying, you just laugh and hope for the best? Well, I do not recommend doing that because my friend was telling me about how he wasn't gonna be at school for a couple of days. But when I asked why, I couldn't understand his response because he talks faster than if Eminem and Trisha Paytas had a baby. So he's telling me why he's gonna miss school and I just keep going, huh? But after doing that about 4 times, it started to get awkward and I didn't want to say huh again. So instead, I just laughed after he repeated himself for the 4th time. But apparently this was not the reaction I should have had because he asked why I was laughing. And I just told him the truth and was like, to be honest, I have no idea what you just said, but I didn't want to keep saying huh. So then he said, oh, gotcha. Well, I was telling you that I have to miss school because I'm gonna get a tumor in my leg removed. Should have just kept saying huh. If you're in class and you hear someone scream in the hallway, don't look at them. Because I was taking a test one time, so the whole class was completely silent until out of nowhere, we hear a scream. So everyone laughs, then goes back to taking their test. But a couple seconds later, out of the corner of my eye, I see my friend in the hallway. He was smirking at me, so I realized he was the one who screamed, but I also figured out why he did it. Because instead of continuing walking wherever he was going, he just kept staring at me while I was taking the test because he was trying to get me to laugh. So I couldn't hold it in and I laughed, which made the teacher suspicious that I was cheating. But I wasn't gonna fail because of my friend, so I told my teacher that there was a random man staring at me in the hallways. Unfortunately, he ran away right when I pointed at him, so when the teacher checked, no one was there. Why is there always people screaming in the hallways? If I ever go to prison, I'm definitely not surviving. Because I was just talking to this guy I met on the bus, and he was telling me about his past and how he went to prison a couple times because he used to rob gas stations. So out of curiosity, I asked him what prison was like, but I shouldn't have done that because after I said that, he chuckled a little bit and I said, "Why are you laughing?" And he goes, "I'm laughing because they would have liked you in prison." So I say, "What does that mean?" And he responds with, "Let's just say a lot of the guys in prison would have thought you were real pretty." What? So basically he's saying if I ever go to prison, I'm cooked. But this made me realize that if I'm ever in a situation where I either have to snitch or go to prison, I'm snitching on everyone. Grandma, dog, cat, I don't care, I'm snitching. Because from the way that man on the bus was laughing, I don't think I last a day in there.
Why are fashion trends so weird? Like, tell me why. I just saw a video where this guy was wearing pants with a pee stain on them. So this girl got his attention and was like, "Hey, I don't want to embarrass you, but I think you might have peed yourself." And he looks down at his pants and starts laughing. The girl asks what's funny, and the man goes, "I didn't pee myself. The pants come like this." So then she goes, "What do you mean?" And he tells her he bought the pants with the stain on them. But when the girl asks why, he says, "'Cause it's fashion." Dog, that's not fashion. That's first grade after you drink too much water at recess. So then I looked it up, and they literally do sell these pants online that come with a pee stain on them. People will literally buy anything these days. Choosing to have pee stains on your pants is literally almost as bad as wearing jorts. That's still the worst one.
Nobody talks about how scary it is when your friend that takes forever to respond to your text finally texts you back. Because when this happens, you literally have 5 minutes to say something back to them before they stop responding until next year. One time my friend texted me saying he had something super important to tell me, but I didn't respond for like 30 minutes because I was busy. So by the time I saw the text, I texted him back saying, "Yeah, what do you need to tell me?" But I was too slow and he didn't text back for 3 days. Then when he finally did, he was like, "Oh, I forgot what I was gonna tell you." Like, I don't know if my friend just thinks I'm a girl on his roster or something, but he always does this. At this point, it would be faster if I just wrote him a letter and had a pigeon fly over to him. Now that I think about it, we should start doing that again, actually.
Have you ever been telling your mom a story and then you accidentally say something illegal you did? Like, me and my friends were hanging out one time, and when I got back home, my mom asked how it went. So I started telling her details about what we did that day, but I messed up because I told her we went swimming. But I was the only one of my friends that had a pool, and we weren't at my house, so my mom was like, "Wait, if you weren't swimming here, where were you?" And then without thinking, I just told her, "Oh, we just hopped the gate at school and we went in the pool there." Right when those words left my mouth, I realized I just admitted that we trespassed onto school property. So before she could even get a word in, I was like, "Oh wait, that's not what happened actually. My friend has a cousin and we went in his pool." But my mom ain't stupid. She knew exactly what we did. I'm always yapping myself into crimes. Why are people making GIFs of me crying over my haircut and posting them in the comment sections on videos? But you know what the worst part is? This isn't even my video. I saw this comment on a random video that had nothing to do with me. How do you even post a GIF as a comment? I'm wearing hats from now on.
Does anyone else have a friend you hated before you became friends? Like, they were your biggest enemy, yet now you can't live without them. Because one of my best friendships started like this in middle school when he was dating a girl I had a crush on. I was obviously jealous of him, so I just naturally didn't like the guy. And he knew that, so he didn't like me either. But then we got put together for a group project one day, and it all changed because at first, my plan was to not do any of it and force him to do the whole thing because I didn't like him. But then the teacher made us sit next to each other in class to work on it. And after being together for about 5 minutes, I was like, damn, I hate to admit it, but this guy's pretty sick. I didn't want to like him, but he was cool. So I got over my ego and realized I never had a chance with that girl anyway. And from that point on, we were best friends.
I've been getting hit on by a bunch of lesbians in my DMs ever since I got this haircut. And at first, I wasn't sure why this was happening. But after reading more and more of the DMs, I realized these women think I'm a lesbian too now because of the haircut. I know I said I look like Ellen, but I didn't mean it in that way. I was driving and I sneezed, so I swerved a little bit and the car next to me honked. But they didn't stop there. No, they sped up right next to me. And remember, they have tinted windows, so I can't see inside their car. And I was thinking this guy's either just about to flip me off or curse at me or something. So he rolls his window down, and what does he do? He throws a piece of cheese at my car, then rolls his window right back up without saying anything. Why do you even have cheese in your car? Are you going to a picnic or something? To all the people out there who get made fun of for having an iron deficiency like me, it's time we start standing up for ourselves, okay? Wait, never mind. Have you ever been telling your mom a story and then you accidentally say something illegal you did? Like me and my friends were hanging out one time, and when I got back home, my mom asked how it went. So I started telling her details about what we did that day, but I messed up because I told her we went swimming. But I was the only one of my friends that had a pool, and we weren't at my house, so my mom was like, wait, if you weren't swimming here, where were you? And then without thinking, I just told her, oh, we just hopped the gate at school and we went in the pool there. Right when those words left my mouth, I realized I just admitted that we trespassed onto school property. So before she could even get a word in, I was like, oh wait, that's not what happened actually. My friend has a cousin and we went in his pool. But my mom ain't stupid. She knew exactly what we did. I'm always yapping myself into crimes.
This is so disgusting. My dog keeps farting while I'm trying to eat, and now all my food tastes like seasoned farts. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. The food even smells like farts now. The fumes from his farts are literally attaching to the food. His gas is literally making my eyes water. Imagine that fart spray that used to be popular. This literally smells like it, but 10 times worse. It's like eating a fart. This sucks. I love Wingstop, but I don't know if I could eat this, and it's so expensive. My phone is literally fogging up from his farts. I need to open a window. What did you eat? What do people talk about? Because like, I'm not shy, but I just cannot think of anything to say when I'm talking to someone. I see people having conversations for hours, and I'm like, what do you guys talk about? Because after I say, hey, how are you doing? I'm finished. It's gotten so bad that one time I Googled what to talk about with people, and the search results terrified me because all of them were like, hey, don't worry, I don't know how to talk to people either. But now I'm 39, single, no friends, and I have a lizard. And honestly, I kind of like this life. Like, no offense, but I do not want to be you.
Have you ever done so bad on a test that you apologize to the teacher? Like, I remember during my final one year, the teacher did everything in her power to make sure everyone did good on the test. She gave us a bunch of study guides, so she really wanted everyone to pass. But unfortunately, this was chemistry class, and I'm no Walter White. I was awful at chemistry. No matter how much teaching she did, I just could not understand it. So when the final came around, I literally left half of the test blank because I didn't know how to answer any of the questions. But I felt so bad because of how much effort the teacher put into preparing us. So when I turned my test in, I literally wrote on the front page, I'm sorry, I tried my best, with a frowny face. The next day, she pulled me to the side and asked me what she could have done better to prepare me for the test, and I literally had to say, it's not you, it's me, because that was the truth.
Why are old people so dramatic? Like, I just saw a video where this grandma was getting ready to go on a yacht, and all she had to do was take a tiny step from the dock to get onto the boat. But instead, she walked straight into the crack between the dock and the boat. The crack was like this big. It was literally harder to fall in it than not to. But the worst part was, it didn't even look like she was trying to get on the yacht. She just walked straight into the crack like there was a bag of candy down there. There's no way she wasn't doing it on purpose. And the people in the video were screaming like, she can't swim, she can't swim. So I thought, yeah, damn, she's definitely cooked. She ain't making it out of there. But after doing some research, it turns out she was totally fine and still went on the yacht. Even though it looks like she was just on one of those water slides where the floor drops from underneath you. Old people really gotta stop getting hurt in such cartoonish ways.
Oh, you think you're an introvert? Well, one time I was driving with my friend and he asked if we could go pick his cousin up and get something to eat. But when we got to his cousin's house, he came inside the car and my friend introduced us to each other. But for some reason, whenever someone I don't know joins a conversation I'm having, I forget how to talk. So basically for the whole car ride, I did not say a single word. But then when we got to the restaurant, we all got out of the car, but then his cousin made eye contact with me and looked really confused. So he whispered something to my friend, which made him laugh. So I was like, what are you laughing about? And that was when my friend told me his cousin thought I was their Uber driver. I asked him why he thought that and he was like, well, you didn't say a single thing the whole ride. And he wasn't even wrong. I was acting like an Uber driver. I just don't know how to talk to new people.
Nobody talks about how scary it is when your mom picks you up from school because you're sick. Like, I don't think I've ever seen my mom as mad as when this would happen because she never believed that I was actually not feeling good. She just thought I wanted to go home. So she would be like, you made me miss watching my TV shows because you have a cough? But what was funny is if I made any sort of noise on the drive home, she would be like, I don't want to hear sound out of you. If you're sick, you shouldn't be making noise. Then when we would actually get home, I had to give her my phone, my PlayStation, my TV, my kidney. She would always say if I was actually sick, I should just lay down the whole day and not do anything. One time I even farted on the way back from school and she asked why I did that if I was really sick. It's like being in prison when you go home sick. I love you though, Mom.
If your friend ever calls you in the middle of the night, don't answer it because my phone was ringing at 2 a.m. last night. So I awoke from my slumber to see who was calling me and it was my friend. Now this guy is not a night person, so I would have expected him to be sleeping, which made me think something serious must have been happening for him to be calling me at this time. So I nervously pick up the call and I just hear a smacking sound. I say, hello, is anyone there? Then my friend finally goes, Tyler? And I say, yes. Then he says, hey, you have an air fryer, right? So I tell him I do. Then he responds with, can you tell me how to use this thing? I'm trying to reheat my pizza, but I've never used one of these before. First of all, you called and woke me up at 2 a.m. because you're reheating food and needed help. And second of all, It's an air fryer. You just put the food in and set the timer. I thought he was in danger or something. Meanwhile, this man was just going for a midnight snack. You can always tell if someone grew up with just brothers or just sisters, because I had friends who fit both of these descriptions, but the way they acted was completely different. Like there was one time where we were gonna go bowling with these girls, so we wanted to look our absolute best. And I was trying to figure out what to wear, but every time I would show them a potential outfit, my friend with just sisters would be like, you know, it doesn't look that bad. But then my friend with just brothers would straight up say, you look fat. Like people who grew up with sisters are definitely gonna be way more thoughtful when they're speaking to you. If they don't think you look good, they're gonna break it to you in the nicest way possible. Meanwhile, someone with just brothers is gonna tell you the first thing that pops up in their head without any more thought. But the craziest part about learning this is the fact that I only have brothers. I guess that explains why I usually don't think before speaking. Nobody talks about how scary it is when your friend that takes forever to respond to your text finally texts you back. Because when this happens, you literally have 5 minutes to say something back to them before they stop responding until next year. One time my friend texted me saying he had something super important to tell me, but I didn't respond for like 30 minutes because I was busy. So by the time I saw the text, I texted him back saying, yeah, what do you need to tell me? But I was too slow and he didn't text back for 3 days. Then when he finally did, he was like, oh, I forgot what I was gonna tell you. Like, I don't know if my friend just thinks I'm a girl on his roster or something, but he always does this. At this point, it would be faster if I just wrote him a letter and had a pigeon fly over to him. Now that I think about it, we should start doing that again, actually. Never take an old person to go see a horror movie, because I went to the movies last night, and when I arrived, I saw a lady that was probably 80 years old there with her grandson. But I don't think she knew this was gonna be a scary movie, because immediately, the movie starts with a jump scare in the first scene, and when it happened, she screamed. But this wasn't a one-time thing. Every time there was a slight jump scare, she would go, ah! So I was thinking, this lady's grandson needs to get her out of here before she has a heart attack. Like he must have been first in line in her will or something. But about 30 minutes into the movie, she stopped screaming. So I assumed she just got used to the jump scares, but that wasn't the case. Because I looked over at her and now she was sleeping. She went from screaming to sleeping all within the same hour. He should have just took her to bingo or something. If you're ever thinking about eating someone else's leftovers, don't do it. Because in the middle of last night, I was starving. So I snuck into the kitchen to see what options we had, and that is when I saw my dad's leftover spaghetti. It looked delicious, so I start munching on it, but there was a problem. Because the spaghetti almost tasted like there was sand in it. Like I could literally feel these little flakes in my mouth whenever I took a bite, but I was so hungry that I did not care. I finished the rest of it, but sadly, about 30 minutes later, I realized how big of a mistake this was. Because my stomach started to really hurt, so I knew it was from the spaghetti, but I didn't know why. Until I looked on the kitchen counter and saw laxatives. My dad's been mixing these powder laxatives into his food lately to help with his colon. But my colon's fine. I don't need those, so I was on the toilet for the next hour. I almost fell asleep in there. Oh, you think you're having a bad day? Well, I just dislocated my finger playing basketball, and then when I got home, I walked into the kitchen to get a snack, and what do I see? My mom's making dinner using the crock pot! Could this day get any worse?
Why are fashion trends so weird? Like, tell me why I just saw a video where this guy was wearing pants with a pee stain on them. So this girl got his attention and was like, hey, I don't want to embarrass you, but I think you might have peed yourself. And he looks down at his pants and starts laughing. The girl asks what's funny, and the man goes, I didn't pee myself. The pants come like this. So then she goes, what do you mean? And he tells her he bought the pants with the stain on them. But when the girl asks why, he says, cause it's fashion. Dog, that's not fashion. That's first grade after you drink too much water at recess. So then I looked it up, and they literally do sell these pants online that come with a pee stain on them. People will literally buy anything these days. Choosing to have pee stains on your pants is literally almost as bad as wearing jorts. That's still the worst one.
I've been getting hit on by a bunch of lesbians in my DMs ever since I got this haircut, and at first, I wasn't sure why this was happening. But after reading more and more of the DMs, I realized these women think I'm a lesbian too now because of the haircut. I know I said I look like Ellen, but I didn't mean it in that way. If you see a video online of me getting interviewed in public, please don't watch it. Because a street interviewer just came up to me while I'm in Vegas and asked me the question, if I could get rid of one thing in the world, what would it be? But I got nervous, so I just said the first thing that came to mind, which was wind. And I thought that was a decent answer, until he asked the same question to a girl behind me, and you know what her response was? World hunger. And I said the wind.
Why do schools get upgraded as soon as you leave? Like while you're going there, it'll look like Gotham City, but the moment you leave, they turn it into a 5-star hotel. The school I used to go to didn't even have air conditioning when I was there. So there would be days where it was over 90 degrees outside and it felt like a sauna inside the classroom. There'd be sweat dripping down from my back to my crack and it would be awful. But just the other day, I drove by the school again for the first time in a while, and originally, I thought I was in the wrong area because they turned my old school into the Taj Mahal. Where'd they get all this money from? Back when I was there, they had mold coming out the ceilings and they took 3 months to fix it. Kids were getting sick left and right, but they didn't care. Fast forward a couple years, and now they have enough money to have a Chick-fil-A in the school? Was I the problem? Have you ever noticed the difference between how boys are on the last day of school versus girls? Because the girls always seem to be super sad. Like, since they're not gonna see a lot of their friends over summer, they might be crying or hugging each other, saying they should hang out when they know that's definitely not gonna happen. But for some reason, boys don't experience any of those feelings because the way they act is completely different. Like, boys know that there's no consequences on the last day of school since you're not gonna be there again. So you can do something crazy. One time on the last day, this guy in my class had a really big crush on the teacher the whole year. So he literally brought flowers to school and asked her if she would go on a date with him. Sadly, she said no, because I guess she had a husband already or something. And the kid was 12, so that would have been pretty weird. But hey, those are the shots you take on the last day. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is to order at a restaurant that has weird names for their food. I was eating at one of those millennial burger places the other day where everything is overpriced, but as I was reading the menu, one specific burger caught my eye. It had bacon and grilled onions, so I knew that was the one I wanted to get. Except there was one problem. It was called the Good Boy Burger. How do you expect me to look the waiter in the eye and say, "Hi, can I get the Good Boy Burger?" "Yeah, with extra freak sauce, please." I was in front of my family. I can't say that. But I really wanted that specific burger. So when the waiter came and asked what I would like, I just pointed to it on the menu, but he couldn't see it. So then I just said, what's the burger with bacon and grilled onions? And then he goes, "Oh, you're talking about the Good Boy Burger, huh?" Then I go, "Yeah, that's the one." And as he was writing it down, I saw a little smirk on his face. These places know what they're doing.
Does anyone else have a friend that tries to make everything you say dirty? Like, you could be talking about puppies and they'll still find a way to say something freaky. Because I was at the gym one time with my friend and I was deadlifting, but I was doing way more weight than I should have. So when I tried lifting it up, I hurt something in my back. Right when this happened, I immediately dropped the weight and grabbed my back. So my friend was like, "Bro, what's wrong?" But this is where I messed up because I said, "My back. I think I blew out my back." And instead of being like, "Oh my gosh, how can I help?" he just starts laughing and goes, "Oh yeah? Did it feel good when you got your back blown out?" Keep in mind, I'm literally unable to move because of how bad this hurt. But all this man could think of is to make a joke about it. I can't even judge him though because I'm like this too. It's just natural. Never share an AirPod with someone in school because one time before class started, my friend was like, "Hey, can I borrow one of your AirPods? I forgot mine." So I said yes, but that was a mistake because I was wearing the other AirPod. And he asked if he could choose the music we listened to during class. So I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But I underestimated just how bad his music taste was because right when class started, this man starts playing Friday by Rebecca Black. At first I'm like, "Oh, I get it. He's just trying to mess with me." But then I look over at him and he's bobbing his head completely locked into the song. I tried getting his attention to let him know that my ears were bleeding, but he wouldn't look at me. And he was playing it on full volume. So if I took it out of my ear, the whole class could hear it, which meant I either had to keep it in or take it out and get in trouble by the teacher. By the time class ended, I didn't even want the other AirPod back. Had a bunch of earwax in it anyway.
I accidentally just cut this guy off while driving, so he sped up right next to me, and I thought he was either gonna flip me off or curse at me, but instead, he just did this. I lost my phone at the movie theaters yesterday, and I just went back to ask the employees if they had it, and they did. But this phone was missing for over 40 hours, and the moment I got it back, I turned it on, and guess what? 0 notifications. Who wanna hang out? Seriously.
Does anyone else have a friend that lived super close to school but was always late? I don't even understand how this is possible because I knew someone whose house was across the street from school. Like, you could literally see it from the inside of our classroom. And the teacher knew he lived there, so whenever he wasn't on time to class, all of us, including the teacher, would just stare outside the window at his house and wait to see how long it took him to go through his front door and walk to class. The kid hated living this close though because since he was late so often, he would always try to make excuses for it, but none of it would work because he would be like, "Oh, sorry, I'm late. I had a dentist appointment." Then the teacher would go, "We literally all just saw you walk from your house to this classroom 5 seconds ago. We know you're lying." I don't know why he took it for granted so much though. If I lived that close to school, I would have just crawled from my bed to class.
I made a video about how people are screenshotting my face whenever I look really stupid and making it their profile picture. But today, someone told me to check out my profile picture on the website Famous Birthdays. So I did. And what is this? Even Famous Birthdays is screenshotting my face when I look ugly and making it a profile picture. But the worst part is, I can't even change it. I don't have control over that. When is this gonna stop?
I'm so scared for the day we have a Gen Z president because there was a kid in my class last year who said he was gonna be president in the future. Like, he was super confident about it and he was going to law school and everything. So at first I was like, "Yeah, you're a smart dude. Maybe you could be president one day." But then I saw him in the dining hall a few days later and he was eating food with his headphones in. So I peeked over his shoulder to see what he was watching. And you know what it was? He was watching one of those TikToks where they show a whole movie in like 500 parts with half the screen showing the movie and the other half showing a slime video. Our future presidents and governors are all watching brain rot content. We're doomed! And if this is how our first Gen Z president will be, just imagine what our first Gen Alpha president will be like. When that happens, I'm moving to a different country like Hawaii or something.
I just got catcalled for the first time ever while being in Vegas, and it made me feel so good that after about 5 minutes, I purposely went out of my way just to walk by them again, hoping that they would keep hyping me up. I understand that girls don't like being catcalled because some guys can be creepy, but as a dude, this is the best feeling ever!
If you're ever feeling embarrassed, just know that I was on a bus yesterday that didn't have any air conditioning and it was completely full. Like there were no open seats. But at one of the stops, this little kid got on the bus with his mom and said, "Mommy, I want to sit down." But then she went, "Honey, there's no seats open right now." So trying to be a nice civilian, I say, "Oh, you can take my seat." And the kid looks excited for about a second until I stand up, because then I hear him say, "Never mind, I don't want to sit there." So I glance back at the seat and what do I see? Butt sweat stains from me sitting there. Even I didn't want to sit back down now, so the seat was just left open with an imprint of my butt on it. Just put air conditioning on the buses, please. Have you ever met an old person that listens to Gen Z music? Because I was on the bus the other day and I saw this man that couldn't have been any younger than like 112. Like I would not have been surprised if he saw the Titanic sink IRL. But he had these wired headphones in his ears. So of course, out of curiosity, I was thinking, what would a man of his age be listening to? A 10-hour video of TV static? I wasn't sure. So I tried figuring it out, and obviously, old people don't have the best hearing, so his music was playing pretty loud, so I leaned a little bit closer to try to listen to it, and I heard a faint noise through his headphones that sounded like this. At first, I was like, wait, is this man listening to what I think he's listening to? So I leaned a little closer, and after a few seconds, I was able to confirm that this man was listening to Playboi Carti. At his age, I feel like if I tried listening to Playboi Carti after the age of 50, I would have a heart attack. I ain't judging. I'm just wondering who showed this music to him.
I'm currently getting canceled by one person because they sent me a DM that said, "Why'd you like this post, weirdo?" Then they sent the post they were referring to, so I clicked on it to see what it was, and now I understand why they're trying to cancel me. Because the post was a picture of this cute dog that said, "Like this photo, ... So I liked it. But what I didn't notice the first time was that there was a second slide which said, "If you think Diddy should be free." I didn't read that part because I always like posts after looking at them for 1 millisecond and then scroll. So if you ever see me liking posts that start out wholesome but then turn freaky, just know I didn't read the whole thing, okay?
Nobody talks about how scary it is to be friends with someone that collects embarrassing pictures of you. Because just the other day, I FaceTimed my friend, but when he answered, he told me that he was hanging out with this girl that I knew he liked. And she could hear me. So to mess with him, I said, "Oh, okay, I'll let you guys hang out and FaceTime you later. I just wanted you to know that I got you the rash cream you were asking me for. Just let me know when you want me to bring it over." And then I hung up after saying that. But this was a big mistake because a couple hours later, I see that he posted something on his story. So I click on it, and what is it? This picture! I don't even remember him taking this. This is why I need to keep a straight face at all times. If you wake up in the middle of the night, do not go on your phone because I was sleeping last night, but around 3 a.m. I woke up in that mode where you're kind of awake, but kind of still sleeping. So I didn't know it was real or not, but I checked my phone to see the time, and I saw that I got a text from my brother asking if I needed him to pick me up at the airport today because I had a flight on that same day. So I texted him back saying, "Yes, please pick me up." And then I went to sleep again. But fast forward to this morning, I went to the airport, got on my flight, and when I landed, I texted my brother saying to let me know when he gets here, but he responded with, "What?" So I sent another message saying, "I just landed. Let me know when you're at the airport." Then he replies with, "You never told me I was picking you up." So I'm like, "Yes, I did. I texted you last night." But then I looked at the previous messages and realized I never actually texted that. I hallucinated the whole thing. This was almost as bad as when I hallucinated going to the bathroom at 3 a.m. when in reality, I just wet the bed. I was messing around with the settings on my phone and I accidentally changed the language to Japanese, but I can't read Japanese. I could barely read English, so I don't know how to change it back. I tried texting my dad asking how to fix this, but all my contacts are in Japanese now too. If any of you can read Japanese, please help me. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is when you make an internet reference to your friends and they don't understand it. Because you can't even explain it to them either without sounding like a psychopath. Like one of my friends went to see the Minecraft movie yesterday, so we were all talking about it. And he mentioned how the movie itself wasn't good, but Jack Black was funny. So then out of nowhere, I blurted out, "Chicken jockey." And I thought that would have made him laugh, but instead, he just looked at me like I had Tourette's. Then everyone in the group was like, "What was that?" So then I was like, "It's a reference from the movie. You don't remember?" Because I thought he would have understood it since he literally just watched it, but he was like, "Oh no, I don't know what that means." It's times like this where I forget that not everyone is as chronically online as me. A random lady just came up to me and gave me this flower, but when I asked her why, she said it's because most men never receive flowers in their life until the day they die. And then she just walked away. So like, is she saying I'm gonna die soon? My mom just texted me saying to come outside as quickly as possible because she has groceries and she needs me to help bring them in. So I put on the first pairs of shoes I could find, which were a sandal and a roller skate, and I got out here. But it's been 5 minutes now, and she's still not here. Where are you, Mom? If you see a video of me from like 5 years ago where I'm in class and I laugh so hard that a snot rocket comes out of my nose, just know that it's AI, okay? I did not actually do that.
AI is just getting really, really good. I was getting bullied by someone on TikTok today, and it made me so angry that I started yelling at my phone. But then out of nowhere, I was like, wait, if I don't want to deal with this anymore, I could just turn my phone off. So I did, and guess what? The cyberbullying stopped. Why didn't I think of this sooner? Nobody talks about the difference between a girl's comment section when they post versus a guy's. Like, they're both crazy, but in different ways. Because for girls, they'll post a selfie and the comments will be something like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, I'm literally gonna punch a hole in the wall. I'm literally ovulating looking at this. And as a guy, when I see that, I'm like, damn, are you complimenting them or threatening them? But when a guy posts a picture, the comment section is just straight up freaky. Like, what do you mean I literally just posted a flick of me smiling like this, and you drop a comment on it saying, I'm gonna touch you? But that's not even as bad as one I just got the other day that said, it's all over my screen. I didn't even know what that comment meant at first until someone explained it to me. My parents follow me on here, dog. Why do you keep commenting such freaky stuff that I have to explain to them?
Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is when you make an internet reference to your friends and they don't understand it. Because you can't even explain it to them either without sounding like a psychopath. Like, one of my friends went to see the Minecraft movie yesterday, so we were all talking about it. And he mentioned how the movie itself wasn't good, but Jack Black was funny. So then out of nowhere, I blurted out, chicken jockey. And I thought that would have made him laugh, but instead, he just looked at me like I had Tourette's. Then everyone in the group was like, what was that? So then I was like, it's a reference from the movie. You don't remember? Because I thought he would have understood it since he literally just watched it, but he was like, oh no, I don't know what that means. It's times like this where I forget that not everyone is as chronically online as me.
I just saw a video where someone made an edit of me and it looked really cool. So can y'all make more edits of me? I'll even do some poses for it right now. Here we go.
Failing a test in high school feels so different from failing a test in college because whenever I would get a bad grade in my high school class, I thought my life was over. I would study all night just to make sure I didn't get a C. But when I got to college, that all changed. Because after about a month, whenever I would take a test, I would try to go for a C. I didn't even bother taking notes or studying in class anymore. I would just use TurboLearn because this app would let me convert my notes into podcasts so I could study them while turning my brain off. And then when the test came, I would just hope for the best. I got my results back from a test in college once and I was smiling so big, so my friend said, oh, you must have done good, huh? What'd you get? 72%. I used to do whatever it took to get A's in high school, and I would even be sad with an A-, but in college, I just use AI to take all my notes for me, and I'm happy if I get a C. I can't believe how much my standards have dropped.
Have you ever compared answers with your classmates after taking a test and realized you definitely failed? Because I used to do this all the time until I figured out that nothing good comes from it. I remember there was this one specific test that I was super nervous for because I really needed to do good on it or else I would have to retake the class. So after it finished, I felt pretty confident about it until I heard some other kids comparing their answers. Because at first, I wasn't gonna stop. But then I heard someone say, what'd you get for question 3? And I remember that specific question being the most difficult one. So I paused to listen to what they said and they went, oh, I got 37.5. And the kid who asked the question went, okay, cool, that's what I got too. But my heart dropped when they said this because my answer was -2. But to make it worse, I didn't even know there could be a 0.5 in our answers. I thought we were supposed to round up. So when I got that test score back, let's just say, I was not getting into Harvard anytime soon.
Does anyone else have a rich friend that doesn't realize how rich they are? Because I know a person like this, and I went to his house one time, which was already super nice. But when I got there, he was giving me a tour of the place, and eventually we made it to the backyard. But in the backyard, there was a separate house. So I was like, dang, you guys even have a guest house? But then he was like, huh? No, we don't. So then I went, well, whose house is that? And I pointed to it. But you know what his response was? Oh, you're talking about the doghouse. The what? Then he goes, yeah, that's where the dog spends a lot of his time. Brother, that dog has a bigger house than my family of 5. And then he has the audacity to say, well, don't you have a doghouse for your dog? Yeah, we do have a doghouse. Not a full estate. So of course, I did the only logical thing you could do in this situation and I asked if I could be their new pet. Like, I'll bark and play fetch all you want if you let me chill in the house. That dog better be paying rent.
My alarm clock didn't go off this morning, so I missed my flight, and I didn't know why this happened at first because I vividly remembered setting it for 7 a.m. But then I realized I was super tired last night when I did this, so I didn't set my alarm in the clock app. No, I set it in the calculator app!
Never fall asleep with your phone on silent mode because the other night I went to bed around 10 p.m. But in the morning when I woke up, I had like 15 text messages from my friend, including a couple photos. So I was thinking, what could he possibly be texting me this much about? But then I opened up the messages and they said things like, bro, get here ASAP. Where are you? Hurry up. So I still had no idea what he was talking about until I clicked on the photos he sent. And then my jaw dropped because you know who was in these photos? LeBron James! Me and my friend live in LA and he was randomly at the same restaurant as LeBron last night. And he knows LeBron is my glorious Pookie Bear honey bun. So he texted me trying to get me to come to the restaurant. But I was stupidly sleeping already, so I didn't see the messages until the morning. Do you know what I would have done to meet LeBron? I would have missed my own birth just to sniff the seat that LeBron was sitting in. Yet I didn't, all cause my stupid phone was on silent.
I accidentally spilled apple juice all over my phone, so it's super sticky now and I don't want to touch it, but I tried wiping it down with a damp paper towel and that didn't get the stickiness out. So can someone please tell me how to fix this? I was cooking this pizza and the instructions said to set the oven to 300 degrees for 20 minutes, but I didn't want to wait that long, so I just set it to 600 degrees for 10 minutes instead. And now I see why you're not supposed to do that. Oh.
I just found out that I passed away a couple days ago, so can you guys please comment how funny and beautiful you thought I was when I was alive? Also, if any of you had a crush on me, feel free to confess it now that I'm gone, because I won't know.
I just got a text from my friend telling me happy birthday, but my birthday isn't for another 8 months, so I texted him back saying, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Isn't today your birthday?" And I said, "No, where did you hear that?" And he told me he got a notification on Snapchat saying that it was. So I had to explain to him that I just set my birthday as a random day on there. But you know what's funny about this? We've known each other since we were 7 years old, and he's been to my birthday party multiple times, yet he still didn't know my actual birthday. The best part about being unemployed is that you can walk everywhere because you have so much free time. I'm currently walking from Los Angeles to Hawaii. To the vegans who were protesting in the middle of the street today causing traffic, you guys made me late for the movies, so because of that, I ordered double the amount of chicken I was going to just to cancel out the meat that you don't eat. Just got my first shiesty. Who wants to be ops with me, huh? Although I should warn you, I can only have oppositions until 9 p.m. because that's my bedtime. But just comment down below if you want to be ops and we can make it happen. Just don't say any bad words, please. My friend just FaceTimed me out of nowhere and I wanted to be funny, so I answered the call doing this pose. But after I answered, I could tell he didn't think that was funny, so I was like, oh, what's wrong? And it turns out he was FaceTiming me to tell me that he couldn't go to the beach with me this weekend because his aunt passed away. Last time I tried doing that. I just got a really weird message written on my coffee from the person who made it, and I don't know whether I should be scared or laughing because I'm pretty sure they recognize me from social media, and look what they wrote on it. Oil up Tyler. I don't even want to drink this no more. Someone just DM'd me a video of them talking in sign language, but obviously I didn't know what they were saying because I don't know sign language. So I told them that, and they responded by telling me that they were signaling the phrase, "You will be single forever." So I was like, oh, haha, very funny. And then I asked them if they were deaf. But you know what they said? They said, "No, I just learned this so I could roast you." You guys are learning new languages just to cook me? How do people break up, then say they hate their ex? Because I know so many people who are like, my ex is the worst person on earth. My ex is so ugly. You literally chose to date them. A couple of months ago, you said you loved them. Do you know how much you have to like someone to date them? And now all of a sudden they're ugly? Like, why can't a relationship just end and both people say, oh, we just weren't a good match? Your ex doesn't always have to be the worst person on earth. Personally, I don't think it's a good look when you talk that negative about your ex. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. I cracked my phone today, and now every time I try to record a video, if I move too quickly, it like freezes. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go backwards, and when I move quickly across the screen, it'll freeze. Watch. Why did it freeze so early? I had a teacher that passed away during the school year one time, and the next day, my friend's baby brother was born. But the weird thing was, his newborn brother would always do this movement with his pinky, which was the exact same thing our teacher would do. So my friend is convinced to this day that after our teacher passed away, he came back in the form of his baby brother. And I don't know what to believe. I got these new shoes yesterday, but every time I run in them, they make this really weird sound. Here, I'll show you. Apparently, if you wear one of these safety vests, you can go wherever you want, because I was just at McDonald's, but when I walked in, the worker was like, oh, are you here to fix the air conditioning? No, I'm here for a Big Mac. I keep getting tagged in a video that accuses me of throwing my pet hamster off a balcony when I was younger. So when I saw this, I was like, what? That's not true. And I DM'd the person who made the video and was like, where'd you hear this information? And you know what they told me? They said, oh, I just made it up because I was bored. How are y'all so creative? My car just got hit by this lady, and I was super angry at first, but then I saw her get out of her vehicle, and she was gorgeous. So she apologized, and I was like, oh, it's okay, it's not that bad, but I should get your phone number for insurance or something, right? And guess what? She gave it to me. I may have to pay $1,000 to get this repaired, but hey, a win is a win. I was just eating this chili, and it made my stomach hurt really bad, but a couple days ago, this girl told me that her stomach hurt, and when I asked why, she said it was because she was ovulating. So that must be what I'm doing right now too. I was driving and I sneezed, so I swerved a little bit and the car next to me honked. But they didn't stop there. No, they sped up right next to me. And remember, they have tinted windows so I can't see inside their car. And I was thinking this guy's either just about to flip me off or curse at me or something. So he rolls his window down, and what does he do? He throws a piece of cheese at my car, then rolls his window right back up without saying anything. Why do you even have cheese in your car? Are you going to a picnic or something? To the homeless man I just caught digging through my backpack for money while I was in the bathroom,
Let me know if you found anything in there, because I'm broke too. Like, you shouldn't have ran off. You should have told me. We could have looked together. I just saw two little kids holding hands, and it made me think how much I miss being young and in love. Like, if I could switch places with that kid right now, I would. Not because I want to hold hands with a 12-year-old. I just miss being a child. Okay? I'm gonna stop talking now. I fell asleep watching this Italian brain rot video last night, but I didn't turn my phone off, so it played the whole time I was sleeping, and it gave me nightmares. I can't stop hearing it. You know a man is beautiful when he looks good with any hairstyle. I don't know who made this post, but that's facts. That is so true. I made this post. It was me. A lady came up to me today and asked if I could take a picture with her daughter, so I said yes. But after we took it, we started talking, and eventually she asked where I was from. So I told her California, and then I asked her, where are you from? And she told me, Korea. But you know what I said next? I said, oh, north or south? It was south, by the way. Never buy clothes off Temu, because I found some really cheap shirts on there the other week, so I was like, oh, I have to buy these. But they just arrived today, and this is what they look like. I look like I work at Victoria's Secret.
I just got a comment on one of my videos from someone that said they can tell I'm super unathletic. So I'm gonna do a backflip to prove to you guys that that is not true. Here we go.
I'm starting to become schizophrenic because my Alexa keeps making these weird laughing noises when I'm not asking. Do you hear that? Alexa, stop. Bro, what? I don't care how old I get. The moment I hear that ice cream truck song, I'm running after it. I got it. The rumor that me and Anne Hathaway are dating is false. Whoever keeps spreading this misinformation, you need to stop. And I'm sorry, I know a lot of you guys believed it was true because you could definitely see us together, but it's not. For now. Why are people editing my face onto pictures of random families? At first I thought it was just that one post, but then I started scrolling through my tags, and it's everywhere! I don't even understand why this is happening, and why does it look so real? This one pretty much looks like my dad. I ain't even gonna say nothing about this one. Someone stole a package I got delivered last night, so I emailed Amazon telling them about it, but they told me to send a picture of the stolen package to prove that I'm not lying. How am I supposed to do that? It's not there! Okay, Amazon, here's a picture of the stolen package. Obviously, as you can see, nothing is here because it got stolen! If you're ever thinking of living somewhere where it gets super windy, don't do it, because I came outside for 5 seconds to go from my house to the car, and look what my hair looks like. I look like the things from the Trolls movie! I just got an invitation to my friend's wedding, but inside the card, it tells me to wear a suit and not a white dress. I thought what we had was special, Michael. I just saw an old lady crying, so I went up to her and asked what was wrong, and she told me that she just lost $200, and I felt so bad that I decided to give her $10 out of the $200 I just found on the ground. I just found out that my mom vapes because I saw this in her room, but I know so many people that have gotten health problems from vaping, so Mom, I'm throwing this away. It's for your own good. This random lady just screamed out loud asking if anyone wanted ice cream, so of course, I went over to get some along with a couple other kids. But when I got to her, she said, "You're too old to be one of my kids' friends." And that's when I realized she was asking her son and his buddies if they wanted ice cream. Not just anyone at the park. She still gave me some though. Would any ladies like to come Netflix and chill with me? We could watch whatever you want on this bad boy. Boss Baby, Minecraft movie. It will be in black and white though, just so you know. To the cop who just pulled me over and gave me a ticket, I did not deserve this. I was only going 2 miles per hour over the speed limit. And sure, maybe I also crashed into a stop sign, but that's besides the point. I just found out that my doctor follows me on social media, but he got angry at me last time I saw him because I told him I never eat vegetables. So now, I gotta start pretending I like these so he doesn't get mad at me again. Look at me, Dr. Sheridan. I love vegetables. I just got a super creepy text from a number I didn't recognize which says, "Congratulations, the United States has drafted you to be number 4 of 100 to fight the gorilla." I don't want to do it, and I especially don't want to be number 4. Mr. Beast, if this is you, please don't make me do it. If this is real, I'm joining the gorillas team. I'm sorry, it's gonna be 99 versus 2. I just saw a video of my barber having surgery today, but the scary part is, I have a haircut appointment with him scheduled tomorrow, and he didn't postpone it. Do I still go to it or what? He could barely speak in the video he posted. I know he's gonna cook me. I'm so scared. I almost just got kicked out of the airport because someone airdropped me a video while I was waiting for my flight. And being the curious person I am, I accepted it. But this was a big mistake because with my phone on full volume, this was the video that played.
There's a bomb strapped to my chest! It's gonna explode in 3
I just got a DM from someone telling me that they're getting bullied at school, and they asked me if I had any advice. So I was like, yeah, just try your best to ignore them. But then they were like, well, that's kind of hard because I go to online school. So I was like, wait, how are you getting bullied if you go to online school? And then they were like, well, you see, my bully is actually my mom. I ain't no Dr. Phil, kid. I can't help you with that one. I just tried a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for the first time ever, and these things are so good. What are in these? Seriously, I need the recipe. If you know how to make these, please tell me what's in these. I accidentally kidnapped someone's cat the other day because I was at the veterinarian since my cat needed shots. But after they finished, they gave him back to me in this big box and said he was sleeping. So I just figured I would let him rest and not take him out of the box until I was about halfway home because I heard him meow. But my cat has a really high-pitched meow, and this one was more like meow. So I opened that box as quick as possible, and it wasn't my cat. I took it back, and the vet was like, oops, we mixed it up. What? Hi, I'm Tyler Vitelli. I was nominated by my mom to do the Get a Job Challenge, but unfortunately, I will not be participating. Instead, I will be doubling it and giving it to the next person. I nominate everyone watching the video. I'm currently watching 3 homeless people give each other flu shots in an alley. It's so nice that they care about their health even though they're homeless. Oh, wait, those aren't flu shots, never mind. Did I just say I want to have a 6-pack before summer 2 hours ago? Yes. Am I now eating an ice cream cone with 5 scoops on it? Maybe. Hi, I'm Tyler Vitelli. I was nominated to do the Ice Bucket Challenge by my friends Nick and Aubrey. Here's the ice bucket. As you can see, I nominate LeBron James, World of T-Shirts, Jadion, Dax Flame, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and Anthony. Here we go. And this is for mental health, by the way, so yeah, here we go. Oh my God. I downloaded an app called Grindr because I thought it was for people that are grinding in life, but after creating a profile on it, I started scrolling through it, and that is not what it is for. Don't download it. I made a video the other day asking people to draw pictures of me, and then last night, I got a DM from someone that said, hey Tyler, I drew you. So I was super excited to look at the drawing, but then I clicked on it, and this is what it looked like. But the crazy part about it is obviously the person in this picture is super ugly, but at the same time, it low-key looks like me. I don't even get how that's possible. I just Googled all the symptoms of the sickness I've been having the past few days, and based off everything I just read, it looks like I'm either pregnant or on my period. I didn't know either of those things could happen. If someone ever texts you the words, are you busy right now? Do not respond, because yesterday I was on the toilet going number 2. But out of nowhere, I got a text from my friend saying, are you busy right now? And I don't like to lie, so I told them, no, I'm not. But this was a mistake because I assumed they were just gonna text me asking me something. But instead, 2 seconds after I sent that text, they FaceTime me and it felt like I got flashbanged. So I declined it because I'm not gonna FaceTime someone while I'm on the toilet. But this made them upset because they texted again saying, why didn't you answer? I thought you weren't busy. Yeah, I'm not busy. But that doesn't mean I wanna FaceTime. The toilet is my place of meditation. Please just let me enjoy it. Can we stop using AI for literally everything? Because my friend just found out he's gonna have a baby and he was trying to figure out what to name it. But he said he wanted it to be something unique. So he asked me if I had any ideas and I said no. So then he chat GPT'd names that don't sound like an NPC. And now his kid's name is gonna be Absidy and it's gonna be spelled ABCD. That's not right. I was trying to listen to depressing music today because I've been pretty sad, but I accidentally put my playlist on shuffle, so these 2 songs just played back to back. I think I just watched the most emotional, amazing movie ever created, and now I can't stop crying. I was watching a bunch of motivational videos last night, and they hyped me up so much that I set my alarm for 5 a.m. this morning because I was gonna go on a run. Well, now it's 5 a.m. and I have no idea what I was thinking last night. I'm going back to bed. A bug just flew in my nose! A bug just flew in my nose! It just flew out. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna destroy it. It amazes me that bugs can go anywhere they want, but they choose to go up my nose and up my butthole. Seriously, if I was a fly, I would go to Hawaii or something. Instead, they choose to hang out with me while I try to beat them to death with a bat. Found it. No! A bug just flew in my nose! A bug just flew in my nose! I just found out that I'm a Nepo baby because I was at a restaurant last night, but randomly after I finished my meal, the waitress brought me a slice of lava cake. So I said, oh, sorry, I didn't order this. It must have been another table. But she was like, no, the cake is free. So I was confused, but I ate it anyways. And as I was getting ready to leave, I get the receipt for the meal and I see that on the back of it, there's a note that says, tell your mom, Laura says hi. Apparently she was my mom's childhood friend. I can't believe people complain about being Nepo babies. This is awesome.
I just got a text from my friend saying that we're not friends anymore. But when I asked why, he said, oh, well, I posted a photo on social media of us together and I tagged you in it. But when I checked the post this morning, I saw that you untagged yourself from the picture. Yeah, I did. Cause the picture you posted made me look like Quasimodo and you look like Brad Pitt. What was I supposed to do? You were mogging me. I just sent my friend a picture of this donut and told him how excited I was to eat it, but he responded back by saying that eating donuts is gross because of how unhealthy they are for you. But what's funny about that is this man can't go 4 seconds without hitting a vape. And he's telling me donuts aren't healthy for you. You rely on flavored air to live. I don't think a donut is your biggest worry. If you're ever eating this cheese, just know you are not supposed to eat the red part. It's wax. I didn't eat the red part, but someone I know did, so don't do it. If you're ever feeling bored, just buy a pregnancy test and leave it somewhere in your friend's house so their whole family can argue about who it belongs to. I'm currently putting one under my friend's couch. I love instigating. What's the first thing you would do if all the people in the world with foot fetishes disappeared? I'll go first. Personally, I would. My doctor told me I need to eat more healthy, so I'm trying to eat an onion, but every time I cut into it, it makes me cry. You know what never made me cry? Ice cream. I'm going back to that. I was going for a run with my shiesty on, but then an old lady got in my way. So I said out loud, I'm coming through on your left. And when she turned around and saw a man with a mask chasing after her, she screamed, I hope she's okay. I just met an Amish person for the first time, and I feel so bad for them because they told me they don't use internet. So I was like, wait, does that mean you don't know who LeBron is? And they said, who's that? I had to pull up highlights just to show them who that is. I can't imagine trying to live without knowing LeBron. Someone left a block of cheese out and I was really hungry, so I was gonna eat it. But when I went to go pick it up, this trap snapped on me and now I can't feel my finger. How do I get this off? I got a DM from someone asking if they could send me fan mail. So I was like, yeah, sure. And I thought they were gonna send me a drawing or something like that, but their package arrived today and tell me why they sent me 8 bottles of baby oil. What am I gonna do with all this? I ran out of clean cups to put my drink in, but as I was looking for something to use, I was like, wait, you could just put your drink in an empty mayonnaise container. Why has no one thought of this before? I just saw this guy at the store buying a pregnancy test, but as I walked by him, I accidentally sneezed and some of the snot got on him. So he looked me directly in the eyes with an angry look on his face and said to the employee, you know what? Give me one more pregnancy test. Is he saying he's gonna use this on me? Why do people send you so many videos and expect you to watch all of them? My friend got mad at me for not responding to this, but I can't scroll through all these. That's a full-time job. Stop sending me so many videos. I let a spider bite me on purpose because I was hoping it would turn me into Spider-Man, but instead of giving me powers, I just feel really lightheaded. I think I need to go to the hospital. I was about to use this sunscreen, but after I sprayed it on my arm, I was like, that smells a little weird. So I looked at the label and it turns out this isn't sunscreen. It's cooking spray. Why do they make the bottles look so similar? Now my arm smells like I'm about to be put in an oven. I took a nap at 4 p.m., but when I woke up, my clock said it was 8. So I thought I slept 4 hours. But then I realized the date on my phone is the next day. It's not 8 p.m., it's 8 a.m. I slept 16 hours. I went to school with a guy who dropped out because he said he was escaping the Matrix. But then I went to McDonald's today, and he was the one taking my order. I don't know if this is what he meant by escaping the Matrix, but he does make some good chicken. Oh, you think you're having a bad day? Well, I just got this haircut, and then on my way home, I found out my barber went straight to the hospital after doing this to me because he got hit by a car. But to make things even worse, my license got suspended because I may or may not have been the one to hit him. I told my barber I wanted the same haircut as the guy in this picture, but after he finished cutting it, I was like, dude, I look nothing like this guy. And he said, yeah, that's because he's better looking than you. I'm going bald! If you work at the Starbucks in West Hollywood, just know that I dropped a venti dump in the toilet 5 minutes ago. My stomach was hurting, I couldn't help it. I took a drink of this vanilla extract because I was in the mood for something sweet and I love vanilla, but this tastes nothing like vanilla. Who named this? If you work at the Starbucks in West Hollywood, just know that I dropped a venti dump in the toilet 5 minutes ago. My stomach was hurting, I couldn't help it.
I put on Rain ASMR to help me sleep, but every time I close my eyes, the only thing my big back can hear is chicken being fried. I can't help it.
If anyone ever tells you that 1 minute isn't a long time, tell them to do a plank. I can't make it much longer. How long has it been? Oh, it's been 12 seconds. I forgot to get chopsticks for the sushi, but I don't have any at home, so I just picked up the first thing I could find to eat these, which was my little cousin's Barbie doll. And it's a lot harder than it looks. My friend stole my TV remote last night, but before he left, he changed the channel to the show where this bear speaks Chinese, and now I can't change it back. Someone please help me.
I'm done sharing my location with my friends, because tell me why I just got a text while I was at the store that said, bro's really shopping at Goodwill right now. So I asked him how he knew that, and he said he was looking at my location. But then 30 minutes later, he texted me again and was like, really, bro? Burger King for dinner? Stop stalking me! I bought this blue drink because it looked like a shield potion from Fortnite, but after opening it, it smelled really weird. So I checked out the label, and it turns out this isn't a big pot, it's laundry detergent. I'm going to get revived if I drink this.
To all the people who make fun of me for being colorblind, I can still do everything that normal people can do. Like right now, I'm about to eat an orange.
Oh. Why is it so sour? Why did no one tell me that they created the rose emoji in real life? I was just outside for the first time this year, and as I'm walking, I was like, wait, this is the emoji from my phone. How did they do this? The worst part about having a girlfriend is that she's always trying to record videos of me. Babe, give me my phone back. Stop. What am I doing with my life? I tried using my microwave as an alarm clock because my phone died, but I don't think you're supposed to do that because after about 2 hours of using it, it just started flashing like this. I think it's gonna explode. My ice cream cone is melting, but I can't lick it yet because I haven't found a good video to watch while eating it, and I physically cannot eat without watching a video. What do? I couldn't find a video.